Andromeda Part 1 by Charles Kingsley, read for LibriVox.org. Over the sea past Crete on the Syrian shore to the southward dwells in the well-tilled lowland a dark-haired Ethiop people, skillful with needle and loom and the arts of the dyer and carver, skillful but feeble of heart, for they know not the lords of Olympus, lovers of men, neither broad-browed Zeus nor Pallas Athena, teacher of wisdom to heroes, bestower of might in the battle. Share not the cunning of Hermes, nor list to the songs of Apollo. Fearing the stars of the sky and the roll of the blue salt water, fearing all things that have life in the womb of the seas and the livers, eating no fish to this day, nor plowing the main like the phoenix, manful with black-beaked ships, they abide in a sorrowful region, vexed with the earthquake and flame and the sea floods, scourge of Poseidon. Whelming the dwellings of men and the toils of the slow-footed oxen, drowning the barley and flax and the hard-earned gold of the harvest, up to the hillside vines and the pastures skirting the woodland, inland the floods came yearly, and after the waters a monster, bred of the slime, like the worms which are bred from the slime of the Nile bank, shapeless, a terror to see, and by night it swam out to the seaward, daily returning to feed with the dawn, and devoured of the fairest cattle and children and maids, till the terrified people fled inland. Fasting in sackcloth and ashes they came, both the king and his people came to the mountain of oaks, to the house of the terrible sea gods, hard by the gulf in the rocks, where of old the world-wide deluge sank to the inner abyss, and the lake where the fish of the goddess, wholly undying, abide, whom the priests feed daily with dainties. There to the mystical fish, high-throned in her chamber of cedar, burnt they the fat of the flock, till the flames shone far to the seaward. 3 days fasting they prayed, but the 4th day the priests of the goddess, cunning in spells, cast lots to discover the crime of the people. All day long they cast, till the house of the monarch was taken, Cepheus, king of the land, and the faces of all gathered blackness. Then once more they cast, and Cassiopeia was taken, deep-bosomed wife of the king, whom oft far-seeing Apollo watched, well pleased from the welkin, the fairest of Ethiop women, fairest save only her daughter, for down to the ankle her tresses rolled, blue-black as the night, ambrosial, joy to beholders. Awful and fair she arose, most like in her coming to Hera, queen before whom the immortals arise, as she comes on Olympus, out of the chamber of gold, which her son Hephaestus has wrought her. Such in her stature and eyes, and the broad white light of her forehead. Stately she came from her place, and she spoke in the midst of the people. Pure are my hands from blood, most pure this heart in my bosom. Yet one fault I remember this day, one word have I spoken. Rashly I spoke on the shore, and I dread lest the sea should have heard it. Watching my child at her bath, as she plunged in the joy of her girlhood, fairer I called her in pride than Atergati, queen of the ocean. Judge ye if this be my sin, for I know none other. She ended. Wrapping her head in her mantle she stood, and the people were silent. Answered the dark-browed priests, no word once spoken returneth, even if uttered unwitting. Shall gods excuse our rashness? That which is done, that abides, and the wrath of the sea is against us. Hers and the wrath of her brother the sun-god, lord of the sheepfolds. Fairer than her hast thou boasted thy daughter? Ah, folly! For hateful, hateful are they to the gods who so impious liken a mortal, fair though he be, to their glory. And hateful is that which is likened, grieving the eyes of their pride, and abominate, doomed to their anger. What shall be likened to gods? The unknown, who deep in the darkness ever abide, twi-formed, many-handed, terrible, shapeless. Woe to the queen, for the land is defiled, and the people accursed. Take thou her therefore by night, thou ill-starred Cassiopeia, take her with us in the night, when the moon sinks low to the westward. Bind her aloft for a victim, a prey for the gorge of the monster, far on the sea-girt rock, which is washed by the surges for ever. So may the goddess accept her, and so may the land make atonement, purged by her blood from its sin. So obey thou the doom of the rulers. Bitter in soul they went out, Cepheus and Cassiopeia, bitter in soul, and their hearts whirled round as the leaves in the eddy. Weak was the queen, and rebelled, but the king, like a shepherd of people, willed not the land should waste, so he yielded the life of his daughter. Deep in the wane of the night, as the moon sank low to the westward, they, by the shade of the cliffs, with the horror of darkness around them, stole, as ashamed, to a deed which became not the light of the sunshine. Slowly the priests and the queen and the virgin bound in the galley. Slowly they rode to the rocks. But Cepheus, far in the palace, sat in the midst of the hall on his throne, like a shepherd of people, choking his woe, dry-eyed, while the slaves wailed loudly around him. They on the sea-girt rock, which is washed by the surges forever, set her in silence, the guiltless, aloft with her face to the eastward. Under a crag of the stone, where a ledge sloped down to the water, there they set Andromeda, most beautiful, shaped like a goddess, lifting her long white arms wide spread to the walls of the basalt, chaining them ruthless with brass, and they called on the might of the rulers. Mystical fish of the seas, dread queen, whom Ethiops honor, whelming the land in thy wrath, unavoidable, sharp as the stingray, thou and thy brother the sun, brain smiting, Lord of the sheepfold, scorching the earth all day, and then resting at night in thy bosom, take ye this one life for many, appeased by the blood of a maiden, fairest and born of the fairest, a queen, most priceless of victims. Thrice they spat as they went by the maid, but her mother, delaying, fondled her child to the last, heart crushed, and the warmth of her weeping fell on the breast of the maid as her woe broke forth into wailing. Daughter, my daughter, forgive me, O curse not the murderess, curse not. How have I sinned but in love? Do the gods grudge glory to mothers? Loving, I bore thee in vain in the fate-cursed bride-bed of Cepheus. Loving, I fed thee and tended, and loving rejoiced in thy beauty, blessing thy limbs as I bathed them, and blessing thy locks as I combed them. Decking thee, ripening to woman, I blessed thee. Yet blessing, I slew thee. How have I sinned but in love? O swear to me, swear to thy mother, never to haunt me with curse as I go to the grave in my sorrow, childless and lone. May the gods never send me another to slay it. See, I embrace thy knees, soft knees where no babe will be fondled. Swear to me never to curse me, the hapless one, not in the death pang. Weeping, she clung to the knees of the maid, and the maid low answered, Curse thee not in the death pang. The heart of the lady was lightened. Slowly she went by the ledge, and the maid was alone in the darkness. Watching the pulse of the oars die down as her own died with them, tearless, dumb with amaze, she stood, as a storm-stunned nestling fallen from bough or from eve lies dumb, which the home-going herdsman fancies a stone till he catches the light of its terrified eyeball. So through the long, long hours the maid stood helpless and hopeless, wide-eyed, downward gazing in vain at the black, blank darkness. Feebly at last she began, while wild thoughts bubbled within her. Guiltless I am. Why thus, then? Are gods more ruthless than mortals? Have they no mercy for youth, no love for the souls who have loved them? Even as I loved thee, dread sea, as I played by thy margin, blessing thy wave as it cooled me, thy wind as it breathed on my forehead, bowing my head to thy tempest, and opening my heart to thy children, silvery fish, wreathed shell, and the strange lithe things of the water, tenderly casting them back as they gasped on the beach in the sunshine, home to their mother, in vain. For mine sits childless in anguish. O false sea, false sea! I dreamed what I dreamed of thy goodness, dreamed of a smile in thy gleam, of a laugh in the plash of thy ripple. False and devouring thou art, and the great world dark and despiteful. Awed by her own rash words, she was still, and her eyes to the seaward looked for an answer of wrath. Far off in the heart of the darkness, bright white mists rose slowly. Beneath them the wandering ocean glimmered and glowed to the deepest abyss, and the knees of the maiden trembled and sunk in her fear, as afar, like a dawn in the midnight, rose from their seaweed chamber the choir of the mystical sea maids. Onward toward her they came, and her heart beat loud at their coming, watching the bliss of the gods as they wakened the cliffs with their laughter. Onward they came in their joy, and before them the roll of the surges sank as the breeze sank dead into smooth green foam-flecked marble, awed. And the crags of the cliff and the pines of the mountain were silent. Onward they came in their joy, and around them the lamps of the sea nymphs, myriad fiery globes, swam panting and heaving, and rainbows, crimson and azure and emerald, were broken in star showers, lighting far through the wine-dark depths of the crystal the gardens of Nereus, coral and sea fan and tangle, the blooms and the palms of the ocean. Onward they came in their joy, more white than the foam which they scattered, laughing and singing and tossing and twining, while eager the Tritons blinded with kisses their eyes, unreproved, and above them in worship hovered the terns, and the seagulls swept past them on silvery pinions, echoing softly their laughter. Around them the wantoning dolphins sighed as they plunged, full of love, and the great sea-horses which bore them curved up their crests in their pride to the delicate arms of the maidens, pawing the spray into gems, till a fiery rainfall, unharming, sparkled and gleamed on the limbs of the nymphs and the coils of the mermen. Onward they went in their joy, bathed round with the fiery coolness, needing nor sun nor moon, self-lighted, immortal, but others, pitiful, floated in silence apart. In their bosoms the sea-boys, slain by the wrath of the seas, swept down by the anger of Nereus, hapless, whom never again on strand or on quay shall their mothers welcome with garlands and vows to the temple, but wearily pining, gaze over island and bay for the sails of the sunken. They heedless sleep in soft bosoms forever, and dream of the surge and the sea maids. Onward they passed in their joy, on their brows neither sorrow nor anger, self-sufficing as gods, never heeding the woe of the maiden. She would have shrieked for their mercy, but shame made her dumb, and their eyeballs stared on her careless and still, like the eyes in the house of the idols. Seeing, they saw not, and passed like a dream on the murmuring ripple. Stunned by the wonder, she gazed wide-eyed as the glory departed. O fair shapes, far fairer than I, too fair to be ruthless. Gladden mine eyes once more with your splendor, unlike to my fancies. You then smiled in the sea gleam and laughed in the plash of the ripple. Awful I deemed you and formless, inhuman, monstrous as idols. Lo, when ye came, ye were women more loving and lovelier, only, like in all else, and I blessed you. Why blessed ye not me for my worship? Had you no mercy for me, thus guiltless? Ye pitied the sea boys, why not me then, more hapless by far? Does your sight and your knowledge end with the marge of the waves? Is the world which ye dwell in not our world? End of poem. This recording is in the public domain. Andromeda, Part 2 by Charles Kingsley, read for LibriVox.org. Over the mountain aloft ran a rush and a roll and a roaring. Downward the breeze came indignant and leaped with a howl to the water, roaring in cranny and crag till the pillars and clefts of the basalt rang like a god-swept lyre, and her brain grew mad with the noises. Crashing and lapping of waters, and sighing and tossing of weed beds, gurgle and whisper and hiss of the foam, while thundering surges boomed in the wave-worn halls as they champed at the roots of the mountain. Hour after hour in the darkness the wind rushed fierce to the landward, drenching the maiden with spray. She, shivering, weary, and drooping, stood with her heart full of thoughts, till the foam crests gleamed in the twilight, leaping and laughing around, and the east grew red with the dawning. Then on the ridge of the hills rose the broad bright sun in his glory, hurling his arrows abroad on the glittering crests of the surges, gilding the soft round bosoms of wood and the downs of the coastland, gilding the weeds at her feet and the foam-laced teeth of the ledges, showing the maiden her home through the veil of her locks, as they floated glistening, damp with the spray, in a long black cloud to the landward. High in the far-off glens rose thin blue curls from the homesteads. Softly the low of the herds and the pipe of the outgoing herdsman slid to her ear on the water and melted her heart into weeping. Shuddering, she tried to forget them, and straining her eyes to the seaward, watched for her doom as she wailed, but in vain, to the terrible sun god. Dost thou not pity me, sun, though thy wild dark sister be ruthless? Dost thou not pity me here, as thou seest me, desolate, weary, sickened with shame and despair, like a kid torn young from its mother? What if my beauty insult thee? Then blight it. But me, oh, spare me yet, ere he be here, fierce, tearing, unbearable. See me, how tender and soft, and thus helpless. See how I shudder, fancying only my doom. Wilt thou shine thus bright when it takes me? Are there no deaths save this, great sun? No fiery arrow, lightning, or deep-mouthed wave? Why thus? What music and shrieking, pleasure in warm live limbs torn slowly? And darest thou behold them? Oh, thou hast watched worse deeds. All sights are alike to thy brightness. What if thou waken the birds to their song? Dost thou waken no sorrow? Waken no sick to their pain, no captive to wrench at his fetters? Smile on the garden and fold, and on maidens who sing at the milking. Flash into tapestried chambers, and peep in the eyelids of lovers, showing the blissful their bliss. Dost love then the place where thou smilest? Lovest thou cities aflame, fierce blows, and the shrieks of the widow? Lovest thou corpse-strewn fields, as thou lightest the path of the vulture? Lovest thou these, that thou gazest so gay on my tears and my mother's, laughing alike at the horror of one and the bliss of another? What dost thou care in thy sky for the joys and the sorrows of mortals? Colder art thou than the nymphs, in thy broad bright eye is no seeing. Hadst thou a soul, as much soul as the slaves in the house of my father, wouldst thou not save? Poor thralls, they pitied me, clung to me weeping, kissing my hands and my feet. What, are gods more ruthless than mortals, worse than the souls which they rule? Let me die. They war not with ashes. Sudden she ceased with a shriek. In the spray, like a hovering foam bow, hung, more fair than the foam bow, a boy in the bloom of his manhood, golden-haired, ivory-limbed, ambrosial. Over his shoulder hung for a veil of his beauty the gold-fringed folds of the goatskin, bearing the brass of his shield, as the sun flashed clear on its clearness. Curved on his thigh lay a falchion, and under the gleam of his helmet eyes more blue than the main shone awful. Around him Athena shed in her love such grace, such state, and terrible daring. Hovering over the water he came, upon glittering pinions, living, a wonder, outgrown from the tight-laced gold of his sandals, bounding from billow to billow, and sweeping the crests like a seagull, leaping the gulfs of the surge as he laughed in the joy of his leaping. Fair and majestic he sprang to the rock, and the maiden in wonder gazed for a while, and then hid in the dark rolling wave of her tresses, fearful the light of her eyes, while the boy, for her sorrow had awed him, blushed at her blushes, and vanished like mist on the cliffs at the sunrise. Fearful at length she looked forth, he was gone. She, wild with amazement, wailed for her mother aloud, but the wail of the wind only answered. Sudden he flashed into sight by her side. In his pity and anger moist were his eyes, and his breath like a rose-bed, as bolder and bolder, hovering under her brows like a swallow that haunts by the house eaves. Delicate-handed he lifted the veil of her hair, while the maiden, motionless, frozen with fear, wept loud, till his lips, unclosing, poured from their pearl-strung portal the musical wave of his wonder. Ah, well spoke she, the wise one, the grey-eyed Pallas Athena, known to immortals alone are the prizes which lie for the heroes ready prepared at their feet. For requiring a little, the rulers pay back the loan tenfold to the man who, careless of pleasure, thirsting for honor and toil, fares forth on a perilous errand, led by the guiding of gods, and strong in the strength of immortals. Thus have they led me to thee. From afar, unknowing, I marked thee shining, a snow-white cross on the dark green walls of the sea cliff. Carven in marble, I deemed thee a perfect work of the craftsman, likeness of Amphitrite, or far-famed Queen Cytherea. Curious I came, till I saw how thy tresses streamed in the sea wind, glistening, black as the night, and thy lips moved slow in thy wailing. Speak again now, oh speak, for my soul is stirred to avenge thee. Tell me what barbarous horde without law, unrighteous and heartless, hateful to gods and to men, thus have bound thee, a shame to the sunlight, scorn and prize to the sailor, but my prize now. For a coward and shameless were he, who so finding a glorious jewel cast on the wayside by fools, would not win it and keep it and wear it, even as I will thee. For I swear by the head of my father, bearing thee over the sea wave, to wed thee in Argos, the fruitful, beautiful mead of my toil, no less than this head which I carry, hidden here fearful. Oh, speak. But the maid, still dumb with amazement, watered her bosom with weeping, and longed for her home and her mother. Beautiful, eager, he wooed her, and kissed off her tears as he hovered, roving at will as a bee on the brows of a rock, nymph-haunted, garlanded over with vine, and acanthus, and clambering roses, cool in the fierce still noon, where streams glance clear in the moss beds. Hums on from blossom to blossom, and mingles the sweets as he tastes them. Beautiful, eager, he kissed her, and clasped her yet closer and closer, praying her still to speak. Not cruel nor rough did my mother bear me to broad-browed Zeus in the depths of the brass-covered dungeon. Neither in vain, as I think, have I talked with the cunning of Hermes face unto face as a friend, or from grey-eyed Pallas Athena learnt what is fit, and respecting myself, to respect in my dealings those whom the gods should love. So fear not, to chaste espousals only I woo thee, and swear that a queen, and alone, without rival, by me thou sittest in Argos of Hellas, throne of my fathers, worshipped by fair-haired kings. Why callest thou still on thy mother? Why did she leave thee thus here? For no foeman has bound thee, no foeman, winning with strokes of the sword such a prize, would so leave it behind him. Just as at first some colt, wild-eyed with quivering nostril, plunges in fear of the curb and the fluttering robes of the rider, soon grown bold by despair, submits to the will of his master, tamer and tamer each hour, and at last in the pride of obedience answers the heel with a curvet, and arches his neck to be fondled, cowed by the need that maid grew tame. While the hero indignant tore at the fetters which held her, the brass, too cunningly tempered, held to the rock by the nails deep wedged, till the boy, red with anger, drew from his ivory thigh, keen flashing, a falchion of diamond. Now let the work of the smith try strength with the arms of immortals. Dazzling it fell, and the blade, as the vine hook shears off the vine bough, carved through the strength of the brass, till her arms fell soft on his shoulder. Once she essayed to escape, but the ring of the water was round her the ring of his arms, and despairing she sank on his bosom. Then, like a fawn when startled, she looked with a shriek to the seaward. Touch me not, wretch that I am, for accursed, a shame and a hissing, guiltless, accursed no less, I await the revenge of the sea gods. Yonder it comes. Ah, go! Let me perish unseen, if I perish. Spare me the shame of thine eyes, when merciless fangs must tear me piecemeal, enough to endure by myself, in the light of the sunshine, guiltless, the death of a kid. But the boy still lingered around her, loath like a boy to forego her, and waken the cliffs with his laughter. Yon is the foe then, a beast of the sea? I had deemed him immortal, Titan or Proteus' self, or Nereus, foeman of sailors. Yet would I fight with them all. But Poseidon, shaker of mountains, uncle of mine, whom I fear as is fit, for he haunts on Olympus, holding the third of the world, and the gods all rise at his coming. Unto none else will I yield, God helped. How then to a monster, child of the earth and of night, unreasoning, shapeless, accursed? Art thou too then a god? No god I, smiling he answered, mortal as thou, yet divine, but mortal the herds of the ocean, equal to men in that only, and less in all else, for they nourish blindly the life of the lips, untaught by the gods, without wisdom. Shame if I fled before such. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain. Andromeda, Part 3, by Charles Kingsley, read for LibriVox.org. In her heart new life was enkindled, worship and trust, fair parents of love. But she answered him, sighing, Beautiful, why wilt thou die? Is the light of the sun then so worthless, worthless to sport with thy fellows in flowery glades of the forest, under the broad green oaks, where never again shall I wander, tossing the ball with my maidens, or wreathing the altar in garlands, careless, with dances and songs, till the glens rang loud to our laughter. Too full of death the sad earth is already, the halls full of weepers, quarried by tombs all cliffs, and the bones gleam white on the sea floor, numberless, gnawn by the herds who attend on the pitiless sea gods, even as mine will be soon. And yet noble it seems to me, dying, giving my life for a people to save to the arms of their lovers, maidens, and youths for a while. Thee, fairest of all, shall I slay thee? Add not thy bones to the many, thus angering idly the dread ones? Either the monster will crush, or the sea queen's self overwhelm thee, vengeful in tempest and foam, and the thundering walls of the surges. Why wilt thou follow me down? Can we love in the black, blank darkness? Love in the realms of the dead, in the land where all is forgotten? Why wilt thou follow me down? Is it joy on the desolate oozes, meagre to flit, grey ghosts in the depths of the grey salt water? Beautiful, why wilt thou die and defraud fair girls of thy manhood? Surely one waits for thee longing, afar in the isles of the ocean. Go thy way, I mine, for the gods grudge pleasure to mortals. Sobbing, she ended her moan, as her neck, like a storm-bent lily, drooped with the weight of her woe, and her limbs sank, weary with watching, soft on the hard-ledged rock. But the boy, with his eye on the monster, clasped her and stood like a god, and his lips curved proud as he answered, Great are the pitiless sea gods, but greater the lords of Olympus, greater the aegis wielder, and greater is she who attends him. Clear-eyed Justice her name is, the counselor, loved of Athena, helper of heroes who dare in the God-given might of their manhood greatly to do and to suffer, and far in the fens and the forests smite the devourers of men, heaven-hated, brood of the giants, twy-formed, strange, without like, who obey not the golden-haired rulers. Vainly rebelling they rage, till they die by the swords of the heroes, even as this must die. For I burn with the wrath of my father, wandering, led by Athena, and dare whatsoever betides me. Led by Athena, I won from the grey-haired terrible sisters secrets hidden from men, when I found them asleep on the sand hills, keeping their eye and their tooth, till they showed me the perilous pathway over the waterless ocean, the valley that led to the Gorgon. Her too I slew in my craft, Medusa, the beautiful horror. Taught by Athena I slew her, and saw not herself but her image, watching the mirror of brass in the shield which a goddess had lent me. Cleaving her brass-scaled throat, as she lay with her adders around her, fearless I bore off her head in the folds of the mystical goat skin hide of Amalthea, fair nurse of the aegis wielder. Hither I bear it, a gift to the gods, and a death to my foe men, freezing the seer to stone, to hide thine eyes from the horror. Kiss me but once, and I go. Then lifting her neck like a sea-bird, peering up over the wave, from the foam-white swells of her bosom, blushing, she kissed him. Afar on the topmost Idalian summit laughed in the joy of her heart, far-seeing the queen Aphrodite. Loosing his arms from her waist, he flew upward, awaiting the sea-beast. Onward it came from the southward, as bulky and black as a galley, lazily coasting along as the fish fled leaping before it, lazily breasting the ripple and watching by sandbar and headland, listening for laughter of maidens at bleaching, or song of the fisher, children at play on the pebbles, or cattle that pawed on the sand hills. Rolling and dripping it came, where bedded in glistening purple cold, on the cold seaweeds lay the long white sides of the maiden trembling, her face in her hands and her tresses afloat on the water. As when an osprey aloft, dark eyebrowed, royally crested, flags on by creek and by cove, and in scorn of the anger of Nereus ranges the king of the shore, if he see on a glittering shallow, chasing the bass and the mullet, the fin of a wallowing dolphin, halting, he wheels round slowly, in doubt at the weight of his quarry, whether to clutch it alive or to fall on the wretch like a plummet, stunning with terrible talon the life of the brain in the hind head, then rushes up with a scream, and stooping the wrath of his eyebrows falls from the sky like a star, while the wind rattles hoarse in his pinions. Over him closes the foam for a moment, and then from the sand bed rolls up the great fish dead, and his side gleams white in the sunshine. Thus fell the boy on the beast, unveiling the face of the Gorgon. Thus fell the boy on the beast, thus rolled up the beast in his horror, once as the dead eyes glared into his, then his sides, death sharpened, stiffened, and stood brown rock in the wash of the wandering water. Beautiful, eager, triumphant, he leaped back again to his treasure, leaped back again, full blessed, toward arms spread wide to receive him. Brimful of honor he clasped her, and brimful of love she caressed him, answering lip with lip, while above them the queen Aphrodite poured on their foreheads and limbs unseen ambrosial odors, givers of longing and rapture, and chaste content in espousals. Happy whome'er they be wedded anoints she, the queen Aphrodite. Laughing, she called to her sister, the chaste Tritonid Athena, seest thou yonder thy pupil, thou maid of the aegis wielder, how he has turned himself wholly to love, and caresses a damsel, dreaming no longer of honour, or danger, or Pallas Athena. Sweeter, it seems, to the young my gifts are, so yield me the stripling, yield him me now, lest he die in his prime, like hapless Adonis. Smiling, she answered in turn, that chaste Tritonid Athena, dear unto me, no less than to thee, is the wedlock of heroes. Dear, who can worthily win him a wife not unworthy, and noble, pure with the pure, to beget brave children, the like of their father. Happy, who thus stands linked to the heroes who were, and who shall be, girdled with holiest awe, not sparing of self, for his mother watches his steps with the eyes of the gods, and his wife and his children move him to plan and to do in the farm and the camp and the council. Thence comes weal to a nation, but woe upon woe when the people mingle in love at their will like the brutes, not heeding the future. Then from her gold-strung loom, where she wrought in her chamber of cedar, awful and fair, she arose, and she went by the glens of Olympus, went by the isles of the sea, and the wind never ruffled her mantle, went by the water of Crete, and the black-beaked fleets of the Phoenix, came to the sea-girt rock, which is washed by the surges forever, bearing the wealth of the gods, for a gift to the bride of a hero. There she met Andromedan and Persia, shaped like immortals. Solemn and sweet was her smile, while their hearts beat loud at her coming. Solemn and sweet was her smile, as she spoke to the pair in her wisdom. Three things hold we, the rulers, who sit by the founts of Olympus, wisdom and prowess and beauty, and freely we pour them on mortals, pleased at our image in man, as a father at his in his children. One thing only we grudge to mankind, when a hero unthankful boasts of our gifts as his own, stiff-necked, and dishonours the givers, turning our weapons against us. Him Ate follows avenging. Slowly she tracks him, and sure as a lime hound, sudden she grips him, crushing him, blind in his pride, for a sign and a terror to folly. This we avenge as is fit, in all else never weary of giving. Come then, damsel, and know if the gods grudge pleasure to mortals. Loving and gentle she spoke, but the maid stood in awe, as the goddess plaited with soft swift finger her tresses, and decked her in jewels, armlet and anklet and earbell, and over her shoulders a necklace heavy, enamelled, the flower of the gold and the brass of the mountain. Trembling with joy she gazed, so well Hephaestus had made it, deep in the forges of Etna, while Charis, his lady beside him, mingled her grace in his craft, as he wrought for his sister Athena. Then on the brows of the maiden a veil bound Pallas Athena. Ample it fell to her feet, deep fringed, a wonder of weaving. Ages and ages agone it was wrought on the heights of Olympus, wrought in the gold-strung loom by the finger of cunning Athena. In it she wove all creatures that teem in the womb of the ocean, Nereid, Siren, and Triton, and dolphin, and arrowy fishes, glittering round, many-hued on the flame-red folds of the mantle. In it she wove, too, a town, where grey-haired kings sat in judgment. Sceptre in hand in the market they sat, doing right by the people, wise, while above watched Justice, and near, far-seeing Apollo. Round it she wove for a fringe all herbs of the earth and the water, violet, asphodel, ivy and vine leaves, roses and lilies, coral and sea fan and tangle, the blooms and the palms of the ocean. Now from Olympus she bore it, a dower to the bride of a hero. Over the limbs of the damsel she wrapped it. The maid still trembled, shading her face with her hands, for the eyes of the goddess were awful. Then, as a pine upon Ida, when southwest winds blow landward, stately she bent to the damsel, and breathed on her. Under her breathing, taller and fairer she grew, and the goddess spoke in her wisdom. Courage I give thee, the heart of a queen, and the mind of immortals, godlike to talk with the gods, and to look on their eyes unshrinking, fearing the sun and the stars no more, and the blue salt water, fearing us only, the lords of Olympus, friends of the heroes, chastely and wisely to govern thyself and thy house and thy people, bearing a godlike race to thy spouse, till dying I set thee high for a star in the heavens, a sign and a hope to the seamen, spreading thy long white arms all night in the heights of the ether, hard by thy sire and the hero thy spouse, while near thee thy mother sits in her ivory chair as she plaits ambrosial tresses. All night long thou wilt shine, all day thou wilt feast on Olympus, happy, the guest of the gods, by thy husband the god begotten. Blissful they turned them to go, but the fair-tressed Pallas Athena rose, like a pillar of tall white cloud, towards silver Olympus, far above ocean and shore, and the peaks of the isles and the mainland, where no frost nor storm is, in clear blue windless abysses, high in the home of the summer, the seats of the happy immortals, shrouded in keen, deep blaze, unapproachable. There ever youthful Hebe, Harmony, and the daughter of Jove, Aphrodite, whirled in the white-linked dance with the gold-crowned hours and the graces hand within hand, while clear-piped Phoebe, queen of the woodlands. All day long they rejoiced, but Athena, still in her chamber, bent herself over her loom as the stars rang loud to her singing, chanting of order and right, and of foresight, warden of nations, chanting of labor and craft, and of wealth in the port and the garner, chanting of valor and fame, and the man who can fall with the foremost, fighting for children and wife, and the field which his father bequeathed him. Sweetly and solemnly sang she, and planned new lessons for mortals. Happy who, hearing, obey her, the wise, unsullied Athena. Eversley, 1852. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain. Hypotheses Hypochondriacæ by Charles Kingsley. Read for LibriVox.org. And should she die, her grave should be upon the bare top of a sunny hill, among the moorlands of her own fair land, amid a ring of old and moss-grown stones in gorse and heather, all embosomed. There should be no tall stone, no marble tomb above her gentle corse. The ponderous pile would press too rudely on those fairy limbs. The turf should lightly he, that marked her home. A sacred spot it would be. Every bird that came to watch her lone grave should be holy. The deer should browse around her undisturbed. The wind bird by her lonely nest should build all fearless, for in life she loved to see happiness in all things. And we would come on summer days when all around was bright, and set us down and think of all that lay beneath that turf, on which the heedless moor-bird sits and whistles his long, shrill, painful song, as though he plained for her that loved him and his pleasant hills. And we would dream again of bygone days, until our eyes should swell with natural tears for brilliant hopes, all faded into air. As on the sands of Iraq, near approach destroys the traveller's vision of still lakes, and goodly streams reed-clad, and meadows green, and leaves behind the drear reality of shadeless, same, yet ever-changing sand. And when the sullen clouds rose thick on mountains rolling, and dark mist wrapped itself round the hill-tops like a shroud, when on her grave swept by the moaning wind, bending the heather bells, then would I come and watch by her in silent loneliness, and smile upon the storm, as knowing well the lightning's flash would surely turn aside, nor mar the lowly mound where peaceful sleeps all that gave life and love to one fond heart. I talk of things that are not, and if prayers by night and day availed from my weak lips, then should they never be, till I was gone before the friends I loved to my long home. O pardon me if ere I say too much, my mind too often strangely turns to ribald mirth, as though I had no doubt nor hope beyond, or brooding melancholy cloys my soul with thoughts of days misspent, of wasted time, and bitter feelings swallowed up in jests. Then strange and fearful thoughts flit o'er my brain, by indistinctness made more terrible, and incubi mock at me with fierce eyes upon my couch, and visions crude and dire of planets, suns, millions of miles, infinities, space, time, thought, being, blank, nonentity, things incorporeal, fancies of the brain, seen, heard, as though they were material, all mixed in sickening mazes, trouble me, and lead my soul away from earth and heaven, until I doubt whether I be or not. And then I see all frightful shapes, lank ghosts, hydras, chimeras, krakens, wastes of sand, herbless and void of living voice, tall mountains cleaving the skies with height immeasurable, on which perchance I climb for infinite years, broad seas studded with islands numberless that stretch beyond the regions of the sun and fade away in distance vast, or dreary clouds, cold, dark, and watery, where wander I for ever, or space of ether, where I hang for aye, a speck, an atom, inconsumable, immortal, hopeless, voiceless, powerless, And oft I fancy I am weak and old, and all who loved me one by one are dead, and I am left alone and cannot die. Surely there is no rest on earth for souls whose dreams are like a madman's. I am young, and much is yet before me. After years may bring peace with them to my weary heart. Helston, 1835. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain. Trehill Well by Charles Kingsley, read for LibriVox.org. There stood a low and ivied roof, as gazing rustics tell, in times of chivalry and song, yclept the Holy Well. Above the ivy's branchlets grey in glistening clusters shone, while round the base the grass blades bright and spiry foxglove sprung. The brambles clung in graceful bands, chequering the old grey stone, with shining leaflets whose bright face in autumn's tinting shone. Around the fountain's eastern base a babbling brooklet sped, with sleepy murmur purling soft adown its gravelly bed. Within the cell the filmy ferns to woo the clear wave bent, and cushioned mosses to the stone their quaint embroidery lent. The fountain's face lay still as glass, save where the streamlet free across the basin's gnarled lip flowed ever silently. Above the well a little nook once held, as rustics tell, all garland decked an image of the Lady of the Well. They tell of tales of mystery, of darkling deeds of woe, but no, such doings might not brook the holy streamlet's flow. O tell me not of bitter thoughts, of melancholy dreams, by that fair fount whose sunny wall basks in the western beams. When last I saw that little stream, a form of light there stood, that seemed like a precious gem beneath that archway rude. And as I gazed with love and awe upon that sylph-like thing, methought that airy form must be the fairy of the spring. Helston, 1835. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain. In an Illuminated Missal by Charles Kingsley, read for LibriVox.org. I would have loved, there are no mates in heaven. I would be great, there is no pride in heaven. I would have sung, as doth the nightingale the summer's night beneath the moona pale, but saintess hymns alone in heaven prevail. My love, my song, my skill, my high intent, have I within this seely book y-pent, and all that beauty which from every part I treasured still alway within mine heart, whether of form or face angelical, or herb or flower, or lofty cathedral, upon these sheets below doth lie y-spread, in quaint devices deftly blazoned. Lord, in this tome to thee I sanctify the sinful fruits of worldly fantasy. 1839. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain. The Weird Lady by Charles Kingsley, read for LibriVox.org. The Swevens came up round Harold the Earl, like motes in the sunne's beam, and over him stood the weird lady, in her charmed castle over the sea, sang, Lie thou still and dream. Thy steed is dead in his stall, Earl Harold, since thou hast been with me. The rust has eaten thy harness bright, and the rats have eaten thy greyhound light, that was so fair and free. Mary Mother, she stooped from heaven, she wakened Earl Harold out of his sweven, to don his harness on, and over the land and over the sea he wended abroad to his own country, a weary way to gone. Oh, but his beard was white with eld, oh, but his hair was grey, He stumbled on by stock and stone, and as he journeyed he made his moan along that weary way. Earl Harold came to his castle wall. The gate was burnt with fire, roof and rafter were fallen down. The folk were strangers all in the town, and strangers all in the shire. Earl Harold came to a house of nuns, and he heard the dead bell toll. He saw the sexton stand by a grave. Now Christ have mercy, who did us save, upon yon fair nun's soul. The nuns they came from the convent gate, by one, by two, by three. They sang for the soul of a lady bright, who died for the love of a traitor knight. It was his own lady. He stayed the corpse beside the grave. A sign, quod he. Mary, Mother, who rulest heaven, send me a sign if I be forgiven by the woman who so loved me. A white dove out of the coffin flew. Earl Harold's mouth it kissed. He fell on his face wherever he stood, and the white dove carried his soul to God, or ever the bearers wist. Durham, 1840. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain. Palinodia by Charles Kingsley. Read for LibriVox.org. Ye mountains, on whose torrent-furrowed slopes and bare and silent brows uplift to heaven, I envied oft the soul which fills your wastes of pure and stern sublime, and still expanse unbroken by the petty incidents of noisy life. O hear me once again. Winds, upon whose racked eddies far aloft, above the murmur of the uneasy world, my thoughts in exultation held their way, whose tremulous whispers through the rustling glade were once to me unearthly tones of love, joy without object, wordless music stealing through all my soul, until my pulse beat fast with aimless hope and unexpressed desire. Thou sea, who was to me a prophet deep, through all thy restless waves and wasting shores of silent labor and eternal change, first teacher of the dense immensity of ever-stirring life in thy strange forms of fish and shell and worm and oozy weed. To me alike thy frenzy and thy sleep have been a deep and breathless joy. O hear! Mountains and winds and waves, take back your child. Upon thy balmy bosom, Mother Nature, where my young spirit dreamt its years away, give me once more to nestle. I have strayed far through another world, which is not thine, through sunless cities and the weary haunts of smoke-grimed labor and foul revelry my flagging wing has swept. A mateless bird's my pilgrimage has been, through sin and doubt and darkness seeking love. O hear me, Nature! Receive me once again, but not alone. No more alone, great Mother. I have brought one who has wandered, yet not sinned like me. Upon thy lap, twin children, let us lie, and in the light of thine immortal eyes, let our souls mingle till the Father calls to some eternal home the charge he gives thee. Cambridge, 1841. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
A Hope by Charles Kingsley. Read for LibriVox.org by Kangaroo 692. Twin stars, aloft in ether clear, around each other roll away, within one common atmosphere of their own mutual light and day. And myriad happy eyes are bent upon their changeless love alway, as strengthened by their one intent, they pour the flood of life and day. So we through this world's waning light may hand in hand pursue our way, shed around us order, love, and light, and shine unto the perfect day. 1842. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
The Poetry of Root Crop by Charles Kingsley, read for LibriVox.org. Underneath their eider robe, russet swede and golden globe, feathered carrot burrowing deep, steadfast wait in charmed sleep, treasure houses wherein lie locked by angels' alchemy, milk and hair and blood and bone, children of the barren stone, children of the flaming air, with his blue eye keen and bare, spirit peopled, smiling down on frozen field and toiling town that will not heed God his voice for rage and greed, frozen fields that surpliced lie, gazing patient at the sky, like some marble carven nun, with folded hands when work is done, who mute upon her tomb doth pray, till the resurrection day. Eversley, 1845. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain. Child Ballad by Charles Kingsley, read for LibriVox.org. Jesus, he loves one and all. Jesus, he loves children small. Their souls are waiting round his feet on high before his mercy seat. While he wandered here below, children small to him did go. At his feet they knelt and prayed, on their heads his hands he laid. Came a spirit on them then, better than of mighty men, a spirit faithful, pure, and mild, a spirit fit for king and child. Oh, that spirit give to me, Jesu Lord, where'er I be. 1847. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain. Early Beacon by Charles Kingsley, read for LibriVox.org. Early Beacon, oh, the pleasant sight to see, shires and towns from Early Beacon, while my love climbed up to me. Early Beacon, oh, the happy hours we lay deep in fern on Early Beacon, courting through the summer's day. Early Beacon, oh, the weary haunt for me, all alone on Early Beacon with his baby on my knee. 1847. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain. Sappho by Charles Kingsley, read for LibriVox.org. She lay among the myrtles on the cliff, above her glared the noon, beneath the sea. Upon the white horizon Athos' peak weltered in burning haze, all airs were dead. The cicale slept among the tamarisk's hair, the birds sat dumb and drooping. Far below the lazy seaweed glistened in the sun. The lazy seafowl dried their steaming wings. The lazy swell crept whispering up the ledge and sank again. Great Pan was laid to rest, and Mother Earth watched by him as he slept, and hushed her myriad children for a while. She lay among the myrtles on the cliff and sighed for sleep that would not hear, but left her tossing still, for night and day a mighty hunger yearned within her heart, till all her veins ran fever, her long thin hands and ivory channeled feet were wasted with the wasting of her soul. Then peevishly she flung her on her face and hid her eyeballs from the blinding glare, and fingered at the grass and tried to cool her crisp hot lips against the crisp hot sward. And then she raised her head and upward cast wild looks from homeless eyes, whose liquid light gleamed out between deep folds of blue-black hair, as gleam twin lakes between the purple peaks of deep Parnassus at the mournful moon. Beside her lay her lyre. She snatched the shell and waked wild music from its silver strings, then tossed it sadly by. Ah, hush, she cries, dead offspring of the tortoise and the mine. Why mock my discords with thine harmonies, although a thrice Olympian lot be thine, only to echo back in every tone the moods of nobler natures than thine own. Eversley, 1847, from Yeast. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain. The Bad Squire by Charles Kingsley, read for LibriVox.org. The merry brown hares came leaping over the crest of the hill, where the clover and corn lay sleeping under the moonlight still. Leaping late and early, till under their bite and their tread, the swedes and the wheat and the barley lay cankered and trampled and dead. A poacher's widow sat sighing on the side of the white chalk bank, where under the gloomy fir woods one spot in the ley throve rank. She watched a long tuft of clover, where rabbit or hare never ran, for its black sour haulm covered over the blood of a murdered man. She thought of the dark plantation, and the hares, and her husband's blood, and the voice of her indignation rose up to the throne of God. I am long past wailing and whining. I have wept too much in my life. I've had 20 years of pining as an English labourer's wife. A labourer in Christian England, where they cant of a Saviour's name, and yet waste men's lives like the vermin's for a few more brace of game. There's blood on your new foreign shrubs, squire, there's blood on your pointer's feet, there's blood on the game you sell, squire, and there's blood on the game you eat. You have sold the labouring man, squire, body and soul to shame, to pay for your seat in the house, squire, and to pay for the feed of your game. You made him a poacher yourself, squire, when you'd give neither work nor meat, and your barley-fed hares rot the garden at our starving children's feet. When packed in one reeking chamber, man, maid, mother, and little ones lay, while the rain pattered in on the rotting bride bed, and the walls let in the day. When we lay in the burning fever on the mud of the cold clay floor, till you parted us all for 3 months, squire, at the dreary workhouse door. We quarrelled like brutes, and who wonders? What self-respect could we keep, worse housed than your hacks and your pointers, worse fed than your hogs and your sheep? Our daughters with base-born babies have wandered away in their shame. If your missus had slept, squire, where they did, your missus might do the same. Can your lady patch hearts that are breaking with handfuls of coals and rice, or by dealing out flannel and sheeting a little below cost price? You may tire of the jail and the workhouse, and take to allotments and schools, but you've run up a debt that will never be paid us by penny club rules. In the season of shame and sadness, in the dark and dreary day, when scrofula, gout, and madness are eating your race away, when to kennels and liveried varlets you have cast your daughter's bread, and worn out with liquor and harlots, your heir at your feet lies dead. When your youngest, the mealy-mouthed rector, lets your soul rot asleep to the grave, you will find in your God the protector of the freeman you fancied your slave. She looked at the tuft of clover, and wept till her heart grew light, and at last, when her passion was over, went wandering into the night. But the merry brown hares came leaping over the uplands still, where the clover and corn lay sleeping on the side of the white chalk hill. Eversley, 1847, from Yeast. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain. Scotch Song by Charles Kingsley, read for LibriVox.org. O forth she went like a braw bride to meet her winsome groom, when she was aware of twa bonny birds sat biggin in the broom. The tain't built with the green moss, but and the bents sae fine, and the tither wi' a lock o' lady's hair linked up wi' a siller twine. O whar gat ye the green moss? O whar the bents sae fine? And whar gat ye the bonny brown hair that once was tress o' mine? We gat the moss fra the elditch isle, the bents fra the winny mare, and a fause knight threw us the bonny brown hair to please his braw new fair. Gae pull, the simmer leaves, and strew them saft o'er me. My token's tint, my love is fause, I'll lay me doon and dee. 1847. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain. The Young Knight, a Parable by Charles Kingsley, read for LibriVox.org. A gay young knight in Burley stood, beside him pawed his steed so good, his hands he wrung, as he were wood with waiting for his love, oh! Oh, will she come, or will she stay, or will she waste the weary day with fools who wish her far away, and hate her for her love, oh! But by there came a mighty boar, his jowl and tushes red with gore, and on his curled snout he bore a bracelet rich and rare, oh! The knight he shrieked, he ran, he flew, he searched the wild wood through and through, but found naught save a mantle blue low rolled within the brake, oh! He twined the wild briar red and white upon his head, the garland dight, the green leaves withered black as night, and burnt into his brain, oh! A fire blazed up within his breast, he mounted on an aimless quest, he laid his virgin lance in rest, and through the forest drove, oh! By Rhinefield and by Osmond's lea, through leat and furze brake, fast drove he, until he saw the homeless sea, that called with all its waves, oh! He laughed aloud to hear the roar, and rushed his horse adown the shore. The deep surge rolled him o'er, and swept him down the tide, oh! New Forest, July 12, 1847. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain. A New Forest Ballad by Charles Kingsley, read for LibriVox.org. Oh, she tripped over Ocknell Plain, and down by Bradley Water, and the fairest maid on the forest side was Jane, the keeper's daughter. She went and went through the broad grey lawns, as down the red sun sank, and chill as the scent of a new-made grave, the mist smelt cold and dank. A token, that fair maid cried, a token that bodes me sorrow, for they that smell the grave by night will see the corpse tomorrow. My own true love in Burley Walk does hunt to-night, I fear, and if he meet my father stern, his game may cost him dear. Ah, here's a curse on hare and grouse, a curse on hart and hind, and a health to the squire in all England leaves never a head behind. Her true love shot a mighty hart among the standing rye, when on him leaped that keeper old from the fern where he did lie. The forest laws were sharp and stern, the forest blood was keen, they lashed together for life and death beneath the hollies green. The metal good and the walnut wood did soon in flinders flee, they tossed the orts to south and north, and grappled knee to knee. They wrestled up, they wrestled down, they wrestled still and sore. Beneath their feet the myrtle sweet was stamped to mud and gore. Ah, cold pale moon, thou cruel pale moon, that starest with never a frown on all the grim and the ghastly things that are wrought in thorpe and town. And yet, cold pale moon, thou cruel pale moon, that night hadst never the grace to lighten two dying Christian men to see one another's face. They wrestled up, they wrestled down, they wrestled sore and still. The fiend who blinds the eyes of men, that night he had his will. Like stags full spent among the bent, they dropped awhile to rest, when the young man drove his saying knife deep in the old man's breast. The old man drove his gunstock down upon the young man's head, and side by the water brown, those yeomen twain lay dead. They dug 3 graves in Lyndhurst yard, they dug them side by side. 2 yeomen lie there, and a maiden fair, a widow and never a bride. In the New Forest, 1847. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain. The Red King by Charles Kingsley, read for LibriVox.org. The king was drinking in Malwood Hall. There came in a monk before them all. He thrust by squire, he thrust by knight, stood over against the dais aright. And the word of the Lord, thou cruel Red King, the word of the Lord to thee I bring. A grimly sweven I dreamt yestreen, I saw thee lie under the Hollands green, and through thine heart an arrow keen. And out of thy body a smoke did rise, which smirched the sunshine out of the skies. So if thou God's anointed be, I rede thee unto thy soul thou see. For mitre and pall thou hast desold, false knight to Christ for gain and gold. And for this thy forest were digged down all, steading in hamlet and churches tall, and Christus poor were ousten forth to beg their bread from south to north. So tarry at home, and fast and pray, lest fiends hunt thee in the judgment day. The monk he vanished where he stood. King William stirred up wroth and wood. Quod he, fools' wits will jump together. The Hampshire ale and the thunder weather have turned the brains for us both, I think, and monks are cursed when they fall to drink. A loathly sweven I dreamt last night, how there hoved anigh me a grisly knight, did smite me down to the pit of hell. I shrieked and woke, so fast I fell. There's Trehill as sour as I perdie, so he of you all shall hunt with me, a grimly brace for a heart to see. The Red King down from Malwood came, his heart with wine was all aflame. His eyne were shotten red as blood, he rated and swore wherever he rode. They roused a heart, that grimly brace, a heart of 10, a heart of grease, fled over against the kinge's place. The sun it blinded the kinge's ee, a fathom behind his hocks shot he. Shoot thou, quoth he, in the fiend's name, to lose such a quarry were 7 years' shame. And he hove up his hand to mark the game. Trehill he shot full light, God wot, for whether the saints they swerved the shot, or whether by treason men knowen not, but under the arm in a secret part, the iron fled through the kinge's heart. The turf it squelched where the Red King fell, and the fiends they carried his soul to hell. Quod his master's name, it hath sped him well. Trehill he smiled full grim that day, quod shooting of kings is no bairn's play, and he smote in the spurs and fled fast away. As he pricked along by Fritham plain, the green tufts flew behind like rain. The waters were out, and over the sward he swam his horse like a stalwart lord. Men clepen that water Trehill's ford. By Rhinefield and by Osmondslee, through glade and furze, break fast drove he, until he heard the roaring sea. Quoth he, those gay waves they call me. By Mary's grace a seely boat on Christchurch bar did lie afloat. He gave the shipmen Mark and Groat to ferry him over to Normandy, and there he fell to sanctuary. God send his soul all bliss to see. And fend our princes every one from foul mishap and Trahi's son. But kings that harrow Christian men shall England never bide again. In the New Forest, 1847, end of poem. This recording is in the public domain. The Outlaw by Charles Kingsley, read for LibriVox.org. Oh, I wadna be a yeoman mither to follow my father's trade, to bow my back in miry banks, and plough and hoe and spade, stinting wife and bairns and kye, to fat some courtier lord. Let them die a rent while like mither, and I'll die by sword. Nor I wadna be a clerk mither, to bide I ben, scrabbling o'er the sheets o' parchment with a weary, weary pen, looking through the lang stained windows at a narrow strip of sky, like a laverock in a withy cage, until I pine away and die. Nor I wadna be a merchant mither in his lang furred gown, trailing strings of footsore horses through the noisy, dusty town, louding low to knights and ladies, fumbling o'er his wares, telling lies and scraping siller, heaping cares on cares. Nor I wadna be a soldier mither to dice with ruffian bands, pining weary months in castles, looking over wasted lands, smoking byres and shrieking women, and the gruesome sights of war. There's blood on my hand enough, mither, it's ill to make it more. If I had married a wife, mither, I might have been doucin' still, and sat at hame by the ingleside, to crack and laugh my fill. Sat at hame wi' the woman I looed, and with bairnies at my knee, but death is bald, and age is called, and luve's no for me. For when first I stirred in your side, mither, ye ken full well how you lay all night up among the deer out on the open fell. And so it was that I won the heart to wander far and near, caring neither for land nor lassie, but the bonny dun deer. Yet I am not a losel and idle, mither, nor a thief that steals. I do but hunt God's cattle upon God's ain hills. For no man buys and sells the deer, and the bonny fells are free to a belted knight with hawk on hand, and a gangrel loon like me. So I'm aff and away to the moors, mither, to hunt the deer, ranging far frae frowning faces and the douce folk here, crawling up through burn and bracken, looping down the screes, looking out frae crag and headland, drinking up the simmer breeze. Oh, the wafts of heather honey and the music o' the brae, as I watch the great hearts feeding nearer, nearer all the day. Oh, to hark the eagles screaming, sweeping, ringing round the sky, that's a bonnier life than stumbling o'er the muck to colt and kye. And when I'm ta'en and hangit, mither, a brittling o' my dear, ye'll no leave your bairn to the Corby cross to dangle in the air. But ye'll send up my twa douce brethren, and ye'll steal me frae the tree, and bury me up on the brown, brown moors where I aye looed to be. Ye'll bury me twixt the brae and the burn, in a glen far away, where I may hear the heathcock craw and the great harts bray. And gin my ghaist can walk, mither, I'll go glowering at the sky, the livelong night on the black hill sides where the dun deer lie. In the New Forest, 1847, end of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Sing Heigh-ho by Charles Kingsley, read for LibriVox.org by Giordano, Newport Richey, Florida. There sits a bird on every tree, sing heigh-ho. There sits a bird on every tree, and courts his love as I do thee. Sing heigh-ho and heigh-ho, young maids must marry. There grows a flower on every bough. Sing Heigh-ho! There grows a flower on every bough. Its petals kiss, I'll show you how. Sing Heigh-ho and Heigh-ho! Young maids must marry. From sea to stream the salmon roam. Sing Heigh-ho! From sea to stream the salmon roam. Each finds a mate and leads her home. Sing Heigh-ho and Heigh-ho! Young maids must marry. The sun's a bridegroom, earth a bride. Sing Heigh-ho! They court from morn till eventide. The earth shall pass, but love abide. Sing Heigh-ho and Heigh-ho! Young maids must marry. Eversley, 1847. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
A March by Charles Kingsley. Read for LibriVox.org by Kangaroo 692. Dreary east winds howling o'er us, claylands knee-deep spread before us, mire and ice and snow and sleet, aching backs and frozen feet, knees which reel as marches quicken, ranks which thin as corpses thicken, while with carrion birds we eat, calling puddle water sweet, as we pledge the health of our general, who fares as rough as we. What can daunt us? What can turn us, led to death by such as he? Eversley, 1848. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
A Lament by Charles Kingsley, read for LibriVox.org. The merry, merry lark was up and singing, and the hare was out and feeding on the lea, and the merry, merry bells below were ringing, when my child's laugh rang through me. Now the hare is snared and dead beside the snow yard, and the lark beside the dreary winter sea, and the baby in his cradle in the churchyard sleeps sound till the bell brings me. Eversley, 1848. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain. The Night Bird, a Myth, by Charles Kingsley, read for LibriVox.org. A-floating across the sleeping sea, all night I heard a singing bird upon the topmost tree. O came you off the isles of Greece, or off the banks of Seine, or off some tree in forests free which fringe the western main? I came not off the old world, nor yet from off the new, but I am one of the birds of God which sing the whole night through. O sing and wake the dawning, O whistle for the wind, the night is long, the current strong, my boat it lags behind. The current sweeps the old world, the current sweeps the new. The wind will blow, the dawn will glow, ere thou hast sailed them through. Eversley, 1848. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
The Dead Church by Charles Kingsley, read for LibriVox.org by Larry Wilson. Wild, wild wind, wilt thou never cease thy sighing? Dark night, wilt thou never wear away? Cold, cold church, in thy death sleep lying, the Lent is past, thy passion here, but not thine Easter day. Peace, faint heart, though the night be dark and sighing, rest, fair corpse, where thy Lord himself hath lain. Weep, dear Lord, above thy bride low lying, thy tears shall wake her frozen limbs to life and health again. Eversley, 1848. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
A Parable from Liebig by Charles Kingsley, read for LibriVox.org. The church bells were ringing, the devil sat singing on the stump of a rotting old tree. O faith, it grows cold, and the creeds they grow old, and the world is nigh ready for me. The bells went on ringing, a spirit came singing, and smiled as he crumbled the tree. Yon wood does but perish, new seedlings to cherish, and the world is too live yet for thee. Eversley, 1848. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain. The Starlings by Charles Kingsley, read for LibriVox.org. Early in springtime, on raw and windy mornings, beneath the freezing house eaves, I heard the starlings sing. Ah, dreary March month, is this then a time for building wearily? Sad, sad to think that the year is but begun. Late in the autumn, on still and cloudless evenings, among the golden reed beds, I heard the starlings sing. Ah, that sweet March month, when we and our mates were courting merrily. Sad, sad to think that the year is all but done. Eversley, 1848. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain. Old and New, a Parable by Charles Kingsley, read for LibriVox.org. See how the autumn leaves float by decaying down the wild swirls of the rain-swollen stream. So fleet the works of men, back to their earth again. Ancient and holy things fade like a dream. Nay, see the spring blossoms steal forth a-maying, clothing with tender hues orchard and glen. So, though old forms pass by, ne'er shall their spirit die. Look, England's bare boughs show green leaf again. Eversley, 1848. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
The Watchman by Charles Kingsley, read for LibriVox.org by Giordano, Newport Richey, Florida. Watchman, what of the night? The stars are out in the sky, and the merry round moon will be rising soon for us to go sailing by. Watchman, what of the night? The tide flows in from the sea. There's water to float, a little cock boat will carry such fishers as we. Watchman, what of the night? The night is a fruitful time, when to many a pair are born children fair, to be christened at morning chime. 1849. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
The World's Age by Charles Kingsley, read for LibriVox.org by Larry Wilson. Who will say the world is dying? Who will say our prime is past? Sparks from heaven within us lying flash and will flash till the last. Fools, who fancy Christ mistaken, man a tool to buy and sell, earth a failure, God forsaken, anteroom of hell. Still the race of hero spirits pass the lamp from hand to hand. Age from age the words inherits, wife and child and fatherland. Still the youthful hunter gathers fiery joy from wold and wood. He will dare as dared his fathers, give him cause as good. While a slave bewails his fetters, while an orphan pleads in vain, while an infant lisps his letters, heir of all the age's gain. While a lip grows ripe for kissing, while a moan from a man is wrung, know by every wanton blessing that the world is young. 1849. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
The Sands of Dee by Charles Kingsley. Read for LibriVox.org by Giordano. Newport Richey, Florida. Oh, Mary, go and call the cattle home, and call the cattle home, and call the cattle home, across the sands of Dee. The western wind was wild and dank with foam, and all alone went she. The western tide crept up along the sand, and o'er the sand, and round the sand, and as far as eye could see, the rolling mist came down and hid the land, and never home came she. Oh, is it weed, or fish, or floating hair, a tress of golden hair, a drowned maiden's hair, above the nets at sea? Was never salmon yet that shone so fair, among the stakes on Dee. They rowed her in across the rolling foam, the cruel crawling foam, the cruel hungry foam, to her grave beside the sea. But still the boatmen hear her call the cattle home, across the sands of Dee. Eversley, 1849. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain. The Tide Rock by Charles Kingsley. Read for LibriVox.org by Giordano. Newport Richey, Florida. How sleeps yon rock, whose half-day's bath is done, with broad blight side, beneath the broad bright sun, like sea-nymph tired, on cushioned mosses sleeping, yet nearer drawn, beneath her purple tresses, from drooping brows we find her slowly weeping. So many a wife, for cruel man's caresses, must inly pine, and pine, yet outward bear a gallant front to this world's gaudy glare. Ilfracombe, 1849. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Elegiacs by Charles Kingsley. Read for LibriVox.org. Wearily stretches the sand to the surge, and the surge to the cloudland. Wearily onward I ride, watching the water alone. Not as of old, like Homeric Achilles, Kaidiaion, joyous knight-errant of God, thirsting for labor and strife. No more on magical steed borne free through the regions of ether, but like the hack which I ride, selling my sinew for gold. Fruit-bearing autumn is gone, let the sad quiet winter hang o'er me. What were the spring to a soul laden with sorrow and shame? Blossoms would fret me with beauty, my heart has no time to bepraise them. Grey rock, bough, surge, cloud, waken no yearning within. Sing not, thou skylark above, even angels pass, hushed by the weeper. Scream on, ye sea-fowl, my heart echoes your desolate cry. Sweep the dry sand on, thou wild wind, to drift o'er the shell and the seaweed. Seaweed and shell, like my dreams, swept down the pitiless tide. Just as the wave which uptore us, 'tis nature's own law which condemns us. Woe to the weak who in pride build on the faith of the sand. Joy to the oak of the mountain, he trusts to the might of the rock clefts. Deeply he mines, and in peace feeds on the wealth of the stone. Mort Sands, Devonshire, February 1849. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain. Dart Side by Charles Kingsley, read for LibriVox.org. I cannot tell what you say, green leaves, I cannot tell what you say, but I know that there is a spirit in you and a word in you this day. I cannot tell what you say, rosy rocks, I cannot tell what you say, but I know that there is a spirit in you and a word in you this day. I cannot tell what you say, brown streams, I cannot tell what you say, but I know that in you too a spirit doth live, and a word doth speak this day. Oh, green is the color of faith and truth, and rose the color of love and youth, and brown of the fruitful clay, sweet earth is faithful and fruitful and young, and her bridal day shall come ere long, and you shall know what the rocks and the streams and the whispering woodlands say. Drews Tenton, Dartmoor, July 31, 1849. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain. My Hunting Song by Charles Kingsley, read for LibriVox.org. Forward! Hark, forward's the cry. One more fence and we're out on the open. So to us at once, if you want to live near us. Hark to them, ride to them, beauties, as on they go, leaping and sweeping away in the vale below. Cowards and bunglers whose heart or whose eye is slow find themselves staring alone. So the great cause flashes by, nearer and clearer its purposes open, while louder and prouder the world echoes cheer us. Gentlemen sportsmen, you ought to live up to us, lead us and lift us, and hallow our game to us. We cannot call the hounds off, and no shame to us. Don't be left staring alone. Eversley, 1849. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain. Alton Locke's Song by Charles Kingsley, read for LibriVox.org. Weep, 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 and weep for pauper, dolt, and slave. Hark! From wasted moor and fen, feverous alley, stifling den, swells the wail of Saxon men. Work, or the grave. Down, 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 and down with idler, knave, and tyrant. Why for sluggards cark and moil? He that will not live by toil has no right on English soil. God's word's our warrant. Up, 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 and up, face your game and play it. The night is past, behold the sun, the idols fall, the lie is done, the judge is set, the doom begun. Who shall stay it? On Torridge, May 1849. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
The Day of the Lord by Charles Kingsley, read for LibriVox.org by Larry Wilson. The day of the Lord is at hand, at hand. Its storms roll up the sky. The nations sleep starving on heaps of gold. All dreamers toss and sigh. The night is darkest before the morn. When the pain is sorest, the child is born, and the day of the Lord is at hand. Gather you, angels of God, freedom and mercy and truth. Come, for the earth is grown coward and old. Come down and renew us her youth. Wisdom, self-sacrifice, daring, and love. Haste to the battlefield, stoop from above to the day of the Lord at hand. Gather you, hounds of hell, famine and plague and war, idleness, bigotry, cant, and misrule. Gather and fall in the snare. Hireling and Mammonite, bigot and knave, crawl to the battlefield, sneak to your grave in the day of the Lord at hand. Who would sit down and sigh for a lost age of gold, while the Lord of all ages is here? True hearts will leap up at the trumpet of God, and those who can suffer can dare. Each old age of gold was an iron age too. and the meekest of saints may find stern work to do in the day of the Lord at hand. On the Torridge, Devonshire, September 10th, 1849. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain. A Christmas Carol by Charles Kingsley, read for LibriVox.org by Larry Wilson. I chanced upon the merry, merry Christmas Eve. I went sighing past the church across the moorland dreary. Oh, never sin and want and woe this earth will leave, and the bells but mock the wailing round, they sing so cheery. How long, O Lord, how long before thou come again? Still in cellar and in garret and on moorland dreary, the orphans moon, the widows weep, the poor men toil in vain, till earth is sick of hope deferred, though Christmas bells be cheery. Then arose a joyous clamor from the wild fowl on the mere, beneath the stars across the snow like clear bells ringing, and a voice within cried, "Listen, Christmas carols even here. Though thou be dumb, yet o'er their work the stars and the snows are singing. Blind, I live, I love, I reign, and all the nations through with the thunder of my judgments even now are ringing. Do thou fulfill thy work but as yon wild fowl do. Thou wilt heed no less the wailing, yet hear through it angels singing." Eversley, 1849. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
The Ubit by Charles Kingsley, read for LibriVox.org. It was an hairy Ubit, sae proud he crept alang, a feckless hairy Ubit, and merrily he sang. My Minnie bade me bide at hame until I won my wings. I show her soon my soul's a boon, the wark's so creeping things. This feckless hairy Ubit cam hurpling by the linn, a swirl o' wind cam doon the glen, and blew that Ubit in. Oh, when he took the water, the salmon fry they rose, and tigged him to pieces sma' by head and tail and toes. Tak warning then, young poets by this poor Ubit's shame. Though Pegasus may nitcher loud, keep Pegasus at hame. O haud your hands frae inkhorns, though the muses woo, for critics lie, like salmon fry, to mock their meals o' you. Eversley, 1851. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
The Three Fishers by Charles Kingsley, read for LibriVox.org by Giordano, Newport Richey, Florida. Three fishers went sailing away to the west, as the sun went down. Each thought on the woman who loved him the best, and the children stood watching them out of the town. For men must work, and women must weep, and there's little to earn, and many to keep, though the harbor bar be moaning. Three wives sat up in the lighthouse tower, and they trimmed the lamps as the sun went down. They looked at the squall, and they looked at the shower, and the night rack came rolling up, ragged and brown. But men must work, and women must weep, though storms be sudden and waters deep, and the harbor bar be moaning. Three corpses lay out on the shining sands in the morning gleam as the tide went down, and the women are weeping and wringing their hands for those who will never come home to the town. For men must work, and women must weep, and the sooner it's over, the sooner to sleep, and goodbye to the bar and its moaning. Eversley, June 25, 1851. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain. Sonnet by Charles Kingsley. Read for LibriVox.org by Greg Giordano. Newport Richey, Florida. The baby sings not on its mother's breast, nor nightingales who nestle side by side, nor I by thine, but let us only part, then lips which should but kiss, and so be still, as having uttered all, must speak again. O stunted thoughts! O chill and fettered rhyme! Yet my great bliss, though still entirely blest, losing its proper home, can find no rest. So, like a child who whiles away the time, with dance and carol till the eventide, watching its mother homeward through the glen, or a nightingale, who, sitting far apart, tells to his listening mate within the nest the wonder of his star-entranced heart, till all the wakened woodlands laugh and thrill, forth all my being bubbles into song, and rings aloft, not smooth, yet clear and strong. Bertrick, 1851. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Margaret to Dolcino by Charles Kingsley, read for LibriVox.org. Ask if I love thee? Oh, smiles cannot tell plainer what tears are now showing too well. Had I not loved thee, my sky had been clear. Had I not loved thee, I had not been here weeping by thee. Ask if I love thee? How else could I borrow pride from man's slander and strength from my sorrow? Laugh when they sneer at the fanatic's bride, knowing no bliss save to toil and abide, weeping by thee. Andernach on the Rhine, August 1851. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain. Dolcino to Margaret by Charles Kingsley, read for LibriVox.org. The world goes up and the world goes down, and the sunshine follows the rain, and yesterday's sneer and yesterday's frown can never come over again, sweet wife, no, never come over again. For woman is warm, though man be cold, and the night will hallow the day, till the heart which at even was weary and old can rise in the morning gay, sweet wife, to its work in the morning gay. Andernach, 1851. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain. The Ugly Princess by Charles Kingsley, read for LibriVox.org. My parents bow and lead them forth for all the crowd to see. Ah, well, the people might not care to cheer a dwarf like me. They little know how I could love, how I could plan and toil, to swell those drudges' scanty gains, their mites of rye and oil. They little know what dreams have been my playmates night and day, of equal kindness, helpful care, a mother's perfect sway. Now earth to earth in convent walls, to earth in churchyard sod, I was not good enough for man, and so am given to God. Bertrich in the Eifel, 1851. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain. Sonnet by Charles Kingsley, read for LibriVox.org. The baby sings not on its mother's breast, nor nightingales who nestle side by side, nor I by thine, but let us only part. Then lips which should but kiss and so be still, as having uttered all, must speak again. O stunted thoughts! O chill and fettered rhyme! Yet my great bliss, though still entirely blest, losing its proper home, can find no rest. So like a child who whiles away the time with dance and carol till the eventide, watching its mother homeward through the glen, or nightingale who sitting far apart tells to his listening mate within the nest the wonder of his star entranced heart, till all the wakened woodlands laugh and thrill, forth all my being bubbles into song, and rings aloft, not smooth, yet clear and strong. Bertrich, 1851, end of poem. This recording is in the public domain. The Swan-neck by Charles Kingsley, read for LibriVox.org. Evil sped the battle play on the Pope Calixtus' day. Mighty warsmiths, thanes, and lords in Senlac slept the sleep of swords. Herald Earl, shot over shield, lay along the autumn weald. Slaughter such was never none since the Ethelings England won. Thither Lady Githa came, weeping sore for grief and shame. How may she her firstborn tell? Frenchmen stripped him where he fell, gashed and marred his comely face. Who can know him in his place? Up and spake two brethren wise, youngest hearts have keenest eyes. Bird which leaves its mother's nest, molts its pinions, molts its crest. Let us call the Swan-neck here, she that was his leman dear. She shall know him in this stound, foot of wolf and scent of hound, eye of hawk and wing of dove, carry woman to her love. Up and spake the Swan-neck high, go, to all your thanes let cry, how I loved him best of all, I whom men his leman call. Better knew his body fair than the mother which him bare. When ye lived in wealth and glee, then ye scorned to look on me. God hath brought the proud ones low, after me afoot to go. Rousing Erne and sallow Gleed, rousing grey wolf off his feed, over Franklin, earl and thane, heaps of mother naked slain. Round the red field tracing slow, stooped that Swan-neck white as snow, never blushed nor turned away, till she found him where he lay. Clipped him in her armis fair, wrapped him in her yellow hair, bore him from the battle's stead, saw him laid in pall of lead, took her to a minster high, for Earl Harold's soul to cry. Thus fell Harold, bracelet giver, Jesu rest his soul for ever, angels all from thrall deliver, Miserere Domine. Eversley, 1851, end of poem. This recording is in the public domain. A Thought from the Rhine by Charles Kingsley, read for LibriVox.org. I heard an eagle crying all alone above the vineyards through the summer night, among the skeletons of robber towers, because the ancient eyrie of his race was trenched and walled by busy-handed men, and all his forest chase and woodland wild, wherefrom he fed his young with hare and roe, were trim with grapes, which swelled from hour to hour, and tossed their golden tendrils to the sun for joy at their own riches. So, I thought, the great devourers of the earth shall sit, idle and impotent, they know not why, down staring from their barren height of state on nations grown too wise to slay and slave, the puppets of the few, while peaceful lore and fellow help make glad the heart of earth with wonders which they fear and hate, as he, the eagle, hates the vineyard slopes below. On the Rhine, 1851, end of poem. This recording is in the public domain. The Longbeards Saga, A.D. 400, by Charles Kingsley, read for LibriVox.org. Over the campfires drank I with heroes, under the Donau bank, warm in the snow trench. Saga men heard I there, men of the Longbeards, cunning and ancient, honey's sweet voiced, scaring the wolf cub, scaring the horn owl, shaking the snow wreaths down from the pine boughs up to the star roof, rang out their song. Singing how Winnell men over the ice floes sledging from Scanlan came unto scoring, singing of Gambara, Freya's beloved, mother of Io, mother of Ibor, singing of Wendel men, Ambri and Asi, how to the Winnell folk went they with war words. Few are ye, strangers, and many are we. Pay us now toll and fee, cloth yarn and rings and beeves. Else at the raven's meal bide the sharp bill's doom. Clutching the dwarf's work, then clutching the bullock's shell, girding grey iron on, forth fared the Winnells all, fared the Alruna's sons, Io and Ibor, mad at heart stalked they. Loud wept the women all, loud the Alruna wife, sore was their need. Out of the morning land over the snowdrifts, beautiful Freya came, tripping to scoring. White were the moorlands and frozen before her, green were the moorlands and blooming behind her. Out of her gold locks, shaking the spring flowers, out of her garments, shaking the south wind, around in the birches, awaking the throstles, and making chaste housewives all long for their hero's home, loving and love-giving, came she to scoring. Came unto Gambara, wisest of Valas, Vala, why weepest thou? Far in the wide blue, high up in the elfin home, heard I thy weeping. Stop not my weeping, till one can fight seven. Sons have I, heroes tall, first in the sword play. This day at the Wendel's hands eagles must tear them. Their mothers, thrall weary, must grind for the Wendells. Wept the Alruna wife, kissed her fair Freya. Far off in the morning land, high in Valhalla, a window stands open. Its sill is the snow peaks, its posts are the water spouts, storm rack its lintel. Gold cloud flakes above are piled for the roofing, far up to the elfin home, high in the wide blue. Smiles out each morning thence, Odin All-Father, from under the cloud eaves, smiles out on the heroes, smiles on chaste housewives all, smiles on the brood mares, smiles on the smith's work, and theirs is the sword luck, with them is the glory. So Odin hath sworn it, who first in the morning shall meet him and greet him. Still the Alruna wept, who then shall greet him? Women alone are here, far on the moorlands, behind the war lindens, in vain for the bill's doom watch, Winnell's heroes all, 1 against 7. Sweetly the queen laughed, hear thou my counsel now, take to thee cunning, beloved of Freya. Take thou thy womenfolk, maidens and wives, over your ankles lace on the white war hose, over your bosoms link up the hard mail nets, over your lips plait long tresses with cunning. So war beasts full bearded King Odin shall deem you, when off the grey sea beach at sunrise ye greet him. Night's sun was driving his golden-haired horses up over the eastern firths, high flashed their manes, smiled from the cloud eaves out, All-Father Odin waiting the battle sport. Freya stood by him. Who are these heroes tall, lusty-limbed Longbeards? Over the swan's bath, why cry they to me? Bones should be crashing fast, wolves should be full fed. Where such mad-hearted swing-hands in the sword play? Sweetly laughed Freya, a name thou hast given them shames neither thee nor them, well can they wear it. Give them the victory, first have they greeted thee, give them the victory, yoke-fellow mine. Maidens and wives are these, wives of the Winnells, few are their heroes and far on the war road, so over the swan's bath they cry unto thee. Royally laughed he then, dear was that craft to him, Odin All-Father, shaking the clouds. Cunning are women all, bold and importunate, Longbeards their name shall be. Ravens shall thank them, where women are heroes, what must the men be? Theirs is the victory, no need of me. Eversley, 1852, from Hypatia. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain. Saint Mara, A.D. 304, by Charles Kingsley. Read for LibriVox.org. Thank God, those gazers' eyes are gone at last. The guards are crouching underneath the rock. The lights are fading in the town below around the cottage, which this morn was ours. Kind sun to set and leave us here alone, alone upon our crosses with our God, while all the angels watch us from the stars. Kind moon to shine so clear and full on him and bathe his limbs in glory for a sign of what awaits him. Oh, look on him, Lord. Look and remember how he saved thy lamb. Oh, listen to me, teacher, husband, love, never till now loved utterly. Oh, say you forgive me. No, you must not speak. You said it to me hours ago, long hours. Now you must rest, and when tomorrow comes, speak to the people. Call them home to God, a deacon on the cross, as in the church, and plead from off the tree with outspread arms to show them that the Son of God endured for them, and me. Hush, I alone will speak, and while away the hours till dawn for you. I know you have forgiven me, as I lay beneath your feet while they were binding me. I knew I was forgiven then, when I cried, Here am I, husband. The lost lamb returned, all rebaptized in blood. And you said, Come to thy bride bed, martyr, wife once more. From that same moment all my pain was gone, and ever since those sightless eyes have smiled love. Love! Alas, those eyes, they made me fall. I could not bear to see them bleeding, dark, never, no, never to look into mine, never to watch me round the little room, singing about my work, or flash on me looks bright with counsel. Then they drove me mad, with talk of nameless tortures waiting you, and I could save you. You would hear your love. They knew you loved me, cruel men. And then came a dream, to say one little word, one easy wicked word we both might say, and no one hear us but the lictors round. One tiny sprinkle of the incense grains, and both free. And life had just begun, only 3 months, short months, your wedded wife, only 3 months within the cottage there, hoping I bore your child. Ah, husband, Saviour, God, think gently of me, I am forgiven. And then another dream, a flash, so quick I could not bear the blaze, I could not see the smoke among the light, to wander out through unknown lands, and lead you by the hand through hamlet, port, and town, on until we died, and stand each day to glory in you as you preached and prayed from rock and bournstone with that voice, those words mingled with fire and honey. You would wake, bend, save whole nations. Would not that atone for one short word? I make it right to save you to fight the battles of the Lord. And so, alas, you knew the rest. You answered me, cruel words. No, blessed godlike words. You had done nobly had you struck me dead instead of striking me to life, the temptress, traitorous, apostate. Dead to God and me, the smell of death upon me. So it was. True, well spoken. Hero! Oh, they snapped those words, my madness, like the angel's voice, thrilling the graves to birth pangs. All was clear. There was but one right thing in the world to do, and I must do it. Lord, have mercy. Christ, help through my womanhood. Or I shall fail, yet as I failed before, I could not speak. I could not speak for shame and misery and terror of my sin and of the things I knew were coming. But in heaven, there we should meet perhaps, and by that time I might be worthy of you once again, of you and of my God. So I went out. Will you hear more? And so forget the pain, and yet I dread to tell you what comes next. Your love will feel it all again for me. No, it is over, and the woe that's dead rises next hour, a glorious angel. Love, say, shall I tell you? Ah, your lips are dry. Tomorrow when they come, we must entreat, and they will give you water. One today, a soldier, gave me water in a sponge upon a reed, and said, too fair, too young. She might have been a gallant soldier's wife. And then I cried, I am a soldier's wife, a hero's. And he smiled, but let me drink. God bless him for it. So they led me back, and as I went a voice was in my ears which rang through all the sunlight and the breath and blaze of all the garden slopes below, and through the harvest voices, and the moan of cedar forests on the cliffs above, and round the shining rivers and the peaks which hung beyond the cloud bed of the west, and round the ancient stones about my feet. Out of all heaven and earth it rang and cried, My hand hath made all these. Am I too weak to give thee strength to say so? Then my soul spread like a clear blue sky within my breast, while all the people made a ring around, and in the midst the judge spoke smilingly, Well, hast thou brought him to a better mind? No, he has brought me to a better mind, I cried, and said beside, I know not what, words which I learnt from thee, I trust in God. Not fierce or rude, for was I not a girl 3 months ago beneath my mother's roof? I thought of that. She might be there. I looked. She was not there. I hid my face and wept. And when I looked again, the judge's eye was on me, cold and steady, deep in thought. She knows what shame is still, so strip her. Ah, I shrieked, not that, sir. Any pain. So young I am, a wife too. I am not my own, but his, my husband's. But they took my shawl and tore my tunic off, and there I stood before them all. Husband, you love me still? Indeed, I pleaded. Oh, shine out, kind moon, and let me see him smile. Oh, how I prayed, while some cried, shame, and some, she is too young, and some mocked ugly words. God shut my ears, and yet no earthquake came to swallow me, while all the court around, and walls and roofs, and all the earth and air were full of eyes, 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 which scorched my limbs like burning flame, until my brain seemed bursting from my brow, and yet no earthquake came. And then I knew this body was not yours alone, but God's. His loan. He needed it. And after that the worst was come, and any torture more a change, a lightening. I did not shriek. Once only, once. When first I felt the whip, it coiled so keen around my side, and sent a fire flash through my heart which choked me. Then I shrieked, that once. The foolish echo rang so far and long, I prayed you might not hear, and then a mist, which hid the ring of eyes, swam by me, and a murmur in my ears of humming bees around the limes at home. And I was all alone with you and God, and what they did to me I hardly know. I felt and did not feel. Now I look back, it was not after all so very sharp. So do not pity me. It made me pray. Forget my shame in pain, and pain in you, and you in God. And once when I looked down and saw an ugly sight, so many wounds. What matter, thought I, his dear eyes are dark. For them alone I kept these limbs so white, of foolish pride. As God wills now, 'tis just. But then the judge spoke out in haste, she is mad, or fenced by magic arts, she feels no pain. He did not know I was on fire within. Better he should not, so his sin was less. Then he cried fiercely, take the slave away, and crucify her by her husband's side. And at those words a film came on my face, a sickening rush of joy. Was that the end? That my reward? I rose and tried to go, but all the eyes had vanished, and the judge and all the buildings melted into mist. So how they brought me here I cannot tell. Here, by you, until the judgment day, and after that forever and forever. Ah, if I could but reach that hand! One touch, one fingertip to send the thrill through me I felt but yesterday. No, I can wait. Another body. Oh, new limbs are ready, free, pure, instinct with soul through every nerve, kept for us in the treasuries of God. They will not mar the love they try to speak. They will not fail my soul as these have done. Will you hear more? Nay, you know all the rest. Yet those poor eyes, alas, they could not see my waking. when you hung above me there with hands outstretched to bless the penitent, your penitent. Even like the Lord himself, I gloried in you, like the Lord himself, sharing his very sufferings to the crown of thorns, which they had put on that dear brow to make you like him, show you as you were. I told them so. I bid them look on you and see there what was the highest throne on earth, the throne of suffering, where the Son of God endured and triumphed for them. But they laughed, all but one soldier, gray, with many scars, and he stood silent. Then I crawled to you and kissed your bleeding feet and called aloud. You heard me, you know all. I am at peace, 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 as still and bright as is the moon upon your limbs, came on me at your smile and kept me happy when they dragged me back from that last kiss and spread me on the cross and bound my wrists and ankles. Do not sigh. I prayed and bore it, and since they raised me up, my eyes have never left your face, my own, nor will till death comes. Do I feel much pain? Not much, not maddening, none I cannot bear. It has become like part of my own life, or part of God's life in me. Honor, bliss. I dreaded madness, and instead comes rest. Rest, deep and smiling, like a summer's night. I should be easy now, if I could move. I cannot stir. Ah, God, these shoots of fire through all my limbs. Hush, selfish girl, he hears you. Who ever found the cross a pleasant bed? Yes, I can bear it, love. Pain is no evil unless it conquers us. These little wrists, now, you said one blessed night they were too slender, too soft and slender, for a deacon's wife, perhaps a martyr's. You forgot the strength which God can give. The cord has cut them through, and yet my voice has never faltered yet. Oh, do not groan, or I shall long and pray that you may die, and you must not die yet, not yet. They told us we might live 3 days, 2 days for you to preach, 2 days to speak words which may wake the dead. Hush, is he sleeping? They say that men have slept upon the cross, so why not he? Thanks, Lord, I hear him breathe, and he will preach thy word tomorrow. Save souls, crowds, for thee, and they will know his worth years hence. Poor things, they know not what they do. And crown him martyr, and his name will ring through all the shores of earth, and all the stars, whose eyes are sparkling through their tears to see his triumph. Preacher, martyr, ah, and me? If they must couple my poor name with his, let them tell all the truth, say how I loved him, and tried to damn him by that love, O Lord, returning good for evil. And was this the payment I deserved for such a sin, to hang here on my cross, and look at him until we kneel before thy throne in heaven? Eversley, 1852. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain. On the Death of a Certain Journal by Charles Kingsley, read for LibriVox.org. So die, thou child of stormy dawn, thou winter flower, forlorn of nurse, chilled early by the bigot's curse, the pedant's frown, the worldling's yawn. Fair death, to fall in teeming June, when every seed which drops to earth takes root and wins a second birth from steaming shower and gleaming moon. Fall warm, fall fast, thou mellow rain, thou rain of God, make fat the land, that roots which parch in burning sand may bud to flower and fruit again, to grace perchance a fairer morn in mightier lands beyond the sea, while honor falls to such as we from hearts of heroes yet unborn, who in the light of fuller day, of purer science, holier laws, bless us, faint heralds of their cause, dim beacons of their glorious way. Failure? while tide floods rise and boil round cape and isle, in port and cove, resistless, star-led from above. What though our tiny wave recoil? Eversley, 1852. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain. Down to the Mothers by Charles Kingsley, read for LibriVox.org. Linger no more, my beloved, by abbey and cell and cathedral. Mourn not for holy ones, mourning of old them who knew not the Father, weeping with fast and scourge when the bridegroom was taken from them. Drop back a while through the years to the warm, rich youth of the nations, childlike in virtue and faith, though childlike in passion and pleasure, childlike still, and still near to their God, while the dayspring of Eden lingered in rose-red rays on the peaks of Ionian mountains. Down to the mothers, as Faust went, I go, to the roots of our manhood, mothers of us in our cradles, of us once more in our glory. Newborn body and soul in the great pure world which shall be, in the renewing of all things, when man shall return to his Eden, conquering evil and death and shame and the slander of conscience, free in the sunshine of Godhead, and fearlessly smile on his Father. Down to the mothers I go, yet with thee still. Be with me, thou purest. Lead me, thy hand in my hand, and the dayspring of God go before us. Eversley, 1852. This recording is in the public domain. To Miss Mitford, authoress of Our Village, by Charles Kingsley, read for LibriVox.org. The single eye, the daughter of the light, well pleased to recognize in lowliest shade some glimmer of its parent beam, and made by daily draughts of brightness inly bright. The taste severe yet graceful, trained aright in classic depth and clearness, and repaid by thanks and honor from the wise and staid, by pleasant skill to blame, and yet delight, and high communion with the eloquent throng of those who purified our speech and song. All these are yours. The same examples lure you in each woodland, me on breezy moor, with kindred aim the same sweet path along, to knit in loving knowledge, rich and poor. Eversley, 1853. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain. Ballad of Earl Haldan's Daughter by Charles Kingsley, read for LibriVox.org. It was Earl Haldan's daughter. She looked across the sea, she looked across the water, and long and loud laughed she. The locks of 6 princesses be my marriage fee. So hey, bonny boat, and ho, bonny boat, who comes a-wooing me? It was Earl Haldan's daughter. She walked along the sand, when she was aware of a knight so fair came sailing to the land. His sails were all of velvet, his mast of beaten gold, and hey, bonny boat, and ho, bonny boat, who saileth here so bold? The locks of 5 princesses I won beyond the sea. I clipped their golden tresses to fringe a cloak for thee. One handful yet is wanting, but one of all the tale. So hey, bonny boat, and ho, bonny boat, furl up thy velvet sail. He leaped into the water, that rover young and bold. He gripped Earl Haldan's daughter, he clipped her locks of gold. Go weep, proud maiden, the tale is full today. Now hey, bonny boat, and ho, bonny boat, sail westward, ho, away. Devonshire, 1854, from Westward Ho, end of poem. This recording is in the public domain. Frank Lee's Song, A.D. 1586, by Charles Kingsley, read for LibriVox.org. Ah, tyrant love, Megaera's serpents bearing, why thus requite my sighs with venomed smart? Ah, ruthless dove, the vulture's talons wearing, why flesh them traitress in this faithful heart? Is this my meed? Must dragons' teeth alone in Venus' lawns by lovers' hands be sown? Nay, gentlest Cupid, 'twas my pride undid me. Nay, guiltless dove, by mine own wound I fell. To worship, not to wed, celestials bid me. I dreamt to mate in heaven, and wake in hell, for ever doomed, Ixion-like, to reel on mine own passion's ever-burning wheel. Devonshire, 1854, from Westward Ho, end of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Ode to the Northeast Wind, by Charles Kingsley, read for LibriVox.org by Amy Gramour. Welcome, wild northeaster, shame it is to see odes to every zephyr, ne'er averse to thee. Welcome, black northeaster, o'er the German foam, o'er the Danish moorlands, from thy frozen home. Tired we are of summer, tired of gaudy glare, showers soft and steaming, hot and breathless air. Tired of listless dreaming through the lazy day, jovial wind of winter turns us out to play. Sweep the golden reed beds, crisp the lazy dike, hunger into madness every plunging pike. Fill the lake with wildfowl, fill the marsh with snipe, while on dreary moorlands lonely curlew pipe. Through the black fir forest, thunder harsh and dry, shattering down the snowflakes off the curdled sky. Hark the brave northeaster, breast high lies the scent, on by holt and headland, over heath and bent. Chime, ye dappled darlings, through the sleet and snow. Who can override you? Let the horses go. Chime, ye dappled darlings, down the roaring blast. You shall see a fox die ere an hour be past. Go and rest tomorrow, hunting in your dreams, while our skates are ringing o'er the frozen streams. Let the luscious south wind breathe in lovers' sighs, while the lazy gallants bask in ladies' eyes. What does he but soften heart alike and pen? 'Tis the hard grey weather breeds hard Englishmen. What's the soft southwester? 'Tis the ladies' breeze, bringing home their true loves out of all the seas. But the black northeaster, through the snowstorm hurled, drives our English hearts of oak seaward round the world. Come as came our fathers, heralded by thee, conquering from the eastward, lords by land and sea. Come and strong within us, stir the Viking's blood, bracing brain and sinew, blow thou wind of God. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
A Farewell to C.E.G. by Charles Kingsley, read for LibriVox.org by Kangaroo. My fairest child, I have no song to give you. No lark could pipe in skies so dull and gray. Yet, if you will, one quiet hint I'll leave you for every day. I'll tell you how to sing a clearer carol than lark who hails the dawn or breezy down, to earn yourself a purer poet's laurel than Shakespeare's crown. Be good, sweet maid, and let who can be clever do lovely things, not dream them all day long, and so make life and death, and that forever, one grand, sweet song. February 1, 1856. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain. To GAG by Charles Kingsley, read for LibriVox.org by Kangaroo. A hasty jest I once let fall, as jests are wont to be, untrue, as if the sum of joy to you were hunt and picnic, rout and ball. Your eyes met mine, I did not blame. You saw it, but I touched too near. Some noble nerve, a silent tear, spoke soft reproach and lofty shame. I do not wish those words unsaid, unspoilt by praise and pleasure you, in that one look to woman grew, while with a child I thought I played, next to mine own, beloved so long. I have not spent my heart in vain. I watch the blade, I see the grain, a woman's soul most soft yet strong. Eversley, 1856. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain. The South Wind, A Fisherman's Blessings by Charles Kingsley, read for LibriVox.org by Kangaroo. O blessed drums of Aldershot, O blessed southwest train, O blessed, blessed speaker's clock, all prophesying rain. O blessed yaffle, laughing loud, O blessed falling glass, O blessed fan of cold grey cloud, O blessed smelling grass, O blessed south wind that toots his horn through every hole and crack. I'm off at 8 tomorrow morn to bring such fishes back. Eversley, April 1, 1856. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
The Invitation to Tom Hughes by Charles Kingsley, read for LibriVox.org. Come away with me, Tom. Term and talk are done. My poor lads are reaping, busy every one. Curates mind the parish, sweepers mind the court. We'll away to Snowdon for our 10 days' sport. Fish the August evening till the eve is past. Whoop like boys at pounders, fairly played and grassed. When they cease to dimple, lunge and swerve and leap, then up over Sybod choose our nest and sleep. Up 1,000 feet, Tom, round the lion's head, find soft stones to leeward, and make up our bed. Eat our bread and bacon, smoke the pipe of peace, and ere we be drowsy, give our boots a grease. Homer's heroes did so, why not such as we? What are sheets and servants, superfluity? Pray for wives and children, safe in slumber curled, then to chat till midnight o'er this babbling world. Of the workman's college, of the price of grain, of the tree of knowledge, of the chance of rain. If Sir A goes Romeward, if Miss B sings true, if the fleet comes homeward, if the mare will do. Anything and everything up there in the sky, angels understand us, and no saints are by. Down and bathe at day dawn, tramp from lake to lake, washing brain and heart clean every step we take. Leave to Robert Browning beggars, fleas, and vines. Leave to mournful Ruskin popish Apennines, dirty stones of Venice, and his gas lamps 7. Weave the stones of Snowdon and the lamps of heaven. Where's the mighty credit in admiring Alps? Any goose sees glory in their snowy scalps. Leave such signs and wonders for the dullard brain as aesthetic brandy, opium, and cayenne. Give me Bramshill Commons, St. John's Harriers by, or the Vale of Windsor, England's golden eye. Show me life and progress, beauty, health, and man, houses fair, trim gardens, turn where'er I can. Or if bored with high art and such popish stuff, one's poor ear need airing, Snowdon's high enough. While we find God's signet fresh on English ground, why go gallivanting with the nations round? Though we try no ventures, desperate or strange, feed on common places in a narrow range, never sought for Franklin round the frozen capes, even with MacDougall bagged our brace of apes. Never had our chance, Tom, in that black Redan, can't avenge poor Brereton out in Saccaran. Though we earn our bread, Tom, by the dirty pen, what we can we will be, honest Englishmen. Do the work that's nearest, though it's dull at whiles, helping when we meet them, lame dogs over stiles. See in every hedgerow marks of angels' feet, epics in each pebble underneath our feet. Once a year, like schoolboys, Robin Hooding go, leaving fops and fogies 1,000 feet below. Eversley, August 1856. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain. The Find by Charles Kingsley, read for LibriVox.org. Yon sounds neither sheep bell nor bark, they're running, go hark. The sport may be lost by a moment's delay, so whip up the puppies and scurry away. Dash down through the cover by dingle and dell. There's a gate at the bottom, I know it full well, and they're running, go hark. They're running, go hark. One fence and we're out of the park. Sit down in your saddles and race at the brook, then smash at the bullfinch, no time for a look. Leave cravens and skirters to dangle behind. He's away for the moors in the teeth of the wind, and they're running, go hark. They're running, go hark. Let them run on and run till it's dark. Well with them we are, and well with them we'll be, while there's wind in our horses and daylight to see. Then shog along homeward, chat over the fight, and hear in our dreams the sweet music all night of They're running, go hark. Eversley, 1856, end of poem. This recording is in the public domain. Fishing Song to J. A. Froude and Tom Hughes by Charles Kingsley, read for LibriVox.org. Oh, Mr. Froude, how wise and good to point us out this way to glory. They're no great shakes, those Snowdon lakes, and all their pounders, myth and story. Blow, Snowdon, what's Lake Gwinnett to Killarney, or spluttering Welsh to tender Blarney, Blarney, Blarney? So, Thomas Hughes, sir, if you choose, I'll tell you where we think of going, to Swate and far o'er cliff and scar, hear horns of Elfland faintly blowing. Blow, Snowdon, there's 100 lakes to try in, and fresh-caught salmon daily, frying, frying, frying. Geology and botany 100 wonders shall discover. We'll flog and troll and strid and hole, and skim the cream of lake and river. Blow, Snowdon, give me Ireland for my pennies. Hurrah for salmon grills and Dennis, Denny's. Everly's, 1856, end of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
The Last Buccaneer by Charles Kingsley, read for LibriVox.org by Micah Glass. Oh, England is a pleasant place for them that's rich and high, but England is a cruel place for poor folks such as I. And such a port for mariners I ne'er shall see again as the pleasant Isle of Aves beside the Spanish Main. There were 40 craft in Aves that were both swift and stout, all furnished well with small arms and cannons round about. And 1,000 men in Aves made laws so fair and free to choose their valiant captains and obey them loyally. Thence we sailed against the Spaniard with his hoards of plate and gold, which he wrung with cruel tortures from Indian folk of old. Likewise the merchant captains, with hearts as hard as stone, who flog men and keel-haul them and starve them to the bone. Oh, the palms grew high in Aves, and fruits that shone like gold, and the colibris and parrots there were gorgeous to behold. And the negro maids to Aves from bondage fast did flee, to welcome gallant sailors, a-sweeping in from sea. Oh, sweet it was in Aves to hear the landward breeze, a-swing with good tobacco in a net between the trees, with a negro lass to fen you while you listen to the roar of the breakers on the reef outside that never touch the shore. But Scripture saith an ending to all fine things must be, so the king's ships sailed on Aves, and quite put down were we. All day we fought like bulldogs, but they burst the booms at night, and I fled in a piragua, sore wounded from the fight. 9 days I floated starving, and a negro lass beside, till for all I tried to cheer her, the poor young thing she died. But as I lay a-gasping, a Bristol sail came by, and brought me home to England here to beg until I die. And now I'm old and going, I'm sure I can't tell where, One comfort is, this world's so hard, I can't be worse off there. If I might but be a seed of, I'd fly across the main to the pleasant Isle of Aves to look at it once again. Eversley, 1857. End poem. This recording is in the public domain. The Knight's Return by Charles Kingsley, read for LibriVox.org by Micah Glass. Hark, 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 the lark sings high in the dark. The werewolves mutter, the nighthawks moan, the raven croaks from the ravenstone. What care I for his boding groan, riding the moorland to come to mine own? Hark, 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 the lark sings high in the dark. Hark, 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 the lark sings high in the dark. Long have I wandered by land and by sea, long have I ridden by moorland and lea. Yonder she sits with my babe on her knee, sits at the window and watches for me. Hark, 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 the lark sings high in the dark. Written for music, 1857. End poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Pen-y-gwrydd to Tom Hughes, Esquire, by Charles Kingsley, read for LibriVox.org. There is no inn in Snowdon which is not awful dear, excepting Pen-y-gwrydd, you can't pronounce it, dear, which standeth in the meeting of noble valleys three. One is the Vale of Gwynant, so well beloved by me. One goes to Capel Carrig, and I can't mind its name. And one it is Llanberis Pass, which all men knows the same. Between which radiations vast mountains does arise, as full of tarns as sieves of holes, in which big fish will rise. That is just one day in the year, if you be there, my boy, just about 10 o'clock at night, and then I wish you joy. Now to this Pen-y-gwrydd inn I purposeth to write, axing the post town out of fruit, for I can't mind it quite, and to engage a room or two for, let us say, a week, for fear of gents and manichees and reading parties meek, and there to live like fighting cocks, at almost a bob a day, and arterwards toward the sea make tracks and cut away, all for to catch the salmon bold in Aberglaslyn pool, and work the flats in Trehill Mar, and will, or I'm a fool. And that's my game, which if you like, respond to me by post, but I fear it will not last, my son, of 13 days at most. Flies is no object, I can tell some 3 or 4 will do, and John Jones Clark, he knows the rest, and ties and sells 'em too. Besides of which I have no more to say, leastwise just now, and so goes to my children's school, and humbly makes my bow. Eversley, 1857. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain. Ode on the Installation of the Duke of Devonshire, Chancellor of the University of Cambridge, 1862, by Charles Kingsley, read for LibriVox.org. Hence a while, severe muses, spare your slaves till drear October. Hence, for Alma Mater chooses not to be for ever sober, but like stately matron grey, calling child and grandchild round her, will for them at least be gay, share for once their holiday, and knowing she will sleep the sounder, cheerier hearted on the morrow, rise to grapple care and sorrow, grandly leads the dance adown, and joins the children's play. So go, for in your places, already as you see, her tears for some deep sorrow scarcely dried, Venus holds court among her sinless graces, with many a nymph from many a park and lea. She, pensive, waits the merrier faces of those your wittier sisters 3, or jest and dance and song, who still preside, to cheer her in this merry mournful tide, and bids us, as she smiles or sighs, tune our fancies by her eyes. Then let the young be glad, fair girl and gallant lad, and sun themselves today by lawn and garden gay. 'Tis play befits the noon of rosy-girdled June. Who dare frown if heaven shall smile? Blest who can forget awhile the world before them, and above the light of universal love. Go then, let the young be gay, from their heart as from their dress let darkness and let mourning pass away, while we, the staid and worn, look on and bless. Health to courage firm and high, health to grant us chivalry, wisely finding day by day play in toil and toil in play. Granted greets them, gliding down on by park and spire and town, humming mills and golden meadows, barred with elm and poplar shadows, giant groves and learned halls, holy fanes and pictured walls. Yet she bides not here, around lies the Muses' sacred ground. Most she lingers where below gliding wherries come and go. Stalwart footsteps shake the shores, rolls the pulse of stalwart oars, rings aloft the exultant cry for the bloodless victory. There she greets the sports which breed valiant lads for England's need, wisely finding day by day play and toil and play. Health to courage firm and high, health to grant us chivalry. Yet stay a while, severer Muses, stay, for you too have your rightful parts today. Known long to you, and known through you to fame, are Chatsworth's halls and Cavendish's name. You too then, Alma Mater, calls to greet a worthy patron for your ancient seat, and bid her sons from him example take, of learning purely sought for learning's sake, of worth unboastful, power in duty spent, and see fulfilled in him her high intent. Come, Euterpe, wake thy choir, fit thy notes to our desire. Long may he sit the chiefest here, meet us and greet us year by year. Long inherit, sire and son, all that their race has wrought and won, since that great Cavendish came again, round the world and over the main. Breasting the Thames with his mariners bold, past good Queen Bess's palace of old, with jewel and ingot packed in his hold, and sails of damask and cloth of gold, while never sailor boy on board but was decked as brave as a Spanish lord, with the spoils he had won in the Isles of the Sun and the shores of Fairyland, and yet held for the crown of the goodly show that queenly smile from the palace window, and that wave of a queenly hand. Yes, let the young be gay, and sun themselves today, and from their hearts, as from their dress, let mourning pass away, but not from us, who watch our years fast fleeing, and snatching as they flee fresh fragments of our being. Can we forget one friend? Can we forget one face, which cheered us toward our end, which nerved us for our race? Oh, sad to toil, and yet forego one presence which has made us know to godlike souls how deep our debt. We would not, if we could, forget. Severer Muses, linger yet, speak out for us one pure and rich regret. Thou, Clio, who with awful pen gravest great names upon the hearts of men, speak of the fate beyond our ken. A gem late found and lost too soon, a sun gone down at highest noon, a tree from Odin's ancient root, which bore for men the ancient fruit, counsel and faith and scorn of wrong, and cunning lore and soothing song, snapped in mid-growth, and leaving unaware the flock unsheltered and the pasture bare. Nay, let us take what God shall send, trusting bounty without end. God ever lives, and nature beneath his high dictature, hale and teeming, can replace strength by strength and grace by grace, hope by hope and friend by friend. Trust, and take what God shall send. So shall Alma Mater see daughters fair and wise train new lands of liberty under stranger skies, spreading round the teeming earth English science, manhood, worth. 1862, end of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
The Tide River by Charles Kingsley. Read for LibriVox.org by Kangaroo. Clear and cool, by laughing shallow and dreaming pool. Cool and clear, by shining shingle and foaming weir. Under the crag where the ouzel sings, and the ivied wall where the church bell rings. Undefiled, for the undefiled, play by me, bathe in me, mother and child. Dank and foul, by the smoky town, in its murky cowl. Foul and dank, by wharf and sewer and slimy bank. Darker and darker the farther I go, baser and baser the richer I grow. Who dare sport with the sin defiled? Shrink from me, turn from me, mother and child. Strong and free, the floodgates are open, away to the sea. Free and strong, cleansing my streams as I hurry along, to the golden sands and the leaping bar, and the taintless tide that awaits me afar, as I lose myself in the infinite main, like a soul that has sinned and is pardoned again. Undefiled for the undefiled, play by me, bathe in me, mother and child. From The Water Babies, Eversley, 1862. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Young and Old by Charles Kingsley. Read for LibriVox.org by Greg Giordano. Newport Richey, Florida. When all the world is young, lad, and all the trees are green, and every goose a swan, lad, and every lass a queen, then hey for boot and horse, lad, and round the world away. Young blood must have its course, lad, and every dog his day. When all the world is old, lad, and all the trees are brown, and all the sport is stale, lad, and all the wheels run down, creep home and take your place there, the spent and maimed among. God grant you find one face there you loved when all was young. From The Water Babies, 1862. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain. The Summer Sea by Charles Kingsley. Read for LibriVox.org by Greg Giordano. Newport Richey, Florida. Soft, soft wind, from out the sweet south sliding, waft thy silver cloud webs athwart the summer sea. Thin, thin threads of mist on dewy fingers twining, weave a veil of dappled gauze to shade my babe and me. Deep, deep love, within thine own abyss abiding, pour thyself abroad, O Lord, on earth and air and sea. Worn weary hearts within thy holy temple hiding, shield from sorrow, sin and shame, my helpless babe and me. From The Water Babies, 1862. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
My Little Doll by Charles Kingsley, read for LibriVox.org. I once had a sweet little doll, dears, the prettiest doll in the world. Her cheeks were so red and so white, dears, and her hair was so charmingly curled. But I lost my poor little doll, dears, as I played in the heath one day, and I cried for more than a week, dears, but I never could find where she lay. I found my poor little doll, dears, as I played in the heath one day. Folks say she is terribly changed, dears, for her paint is all washed away, and her arms trodden off by the cows, dears, and her hair not the least bit curled. Yet for old sake's sake she is still, dears, the prettiest doll in the world. From The Water Babies, Eversley, 1862. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
The Night's Sleep, A Legend of Eltenar by Charles Kingsley. Read for LibriVox.org by Micah Glass. So the foemen have fired the gate, men of mine, and the water is spent and gone. Then bring me a cup of the red-ar wine, I never shall drink but this one. And reach me my harness, and saddle my horse, and lead him me round to the door. He must make such a leap tonight, perforce, as horse never took before. I have fought my fight, I have lived my life, I have drunk my share of wine. From Trier to Colm there was never a night led a merrier life than mine. I have lived by the saddle for years 2 score, and if I must die on tree, then the old saddle tree which has borne me of yore is the properest timber for me. So now to show bishop and burgher and priest how the Altenar hawk can die, if they smoke the old falcon out of his nest, he must take to his wings and fly. He harnessed himself by the clear moonshine, and he mounted his horse at the door, and he drained such a cup of the red our wine as man never drained before. He spurred the old horse, and he held him tight, and he leapt him out over the wall, out over the cliff, out into the night, 300 feet of fall. They found him next morning below in the glen, with never a bone in him whole. A mass or a prayer now, good gentlemen, for such a bold rider's soul. Eversley, 1864. End poem. This recording is in the public domain.
The Song of the Little Bald Tongue, A.D. 395, by Charles Kingsley, read for LibriVox.org. A harper came over the Danube so wide, and he came into Alaric's hall, and he sang the song of the little bald tongue to him and his heroes all. How the old balt and the young balt rode out of Caw land, with the royal elephant's trunk on helm and the royal lance in hand. Thuringer heroes, counts and knights, pricked proud in their meinie, for they were away to the great Kaiser in Byzant beside the sea. And when they came to the Danube so wide, they shouted from off the shore, come over, ye Roman slaves, and ferry your masters o'er. And when they came to Adrian's burg, with its towers so smooth and high, come out, ye Roman knaves, and see your lords ride by. But when they came lo, the long walls that stretch from sea to sea, that old balt let down his chin, and a thoughtful man grew he. Oh, oft have I scoffed at brave Fritigern, but never will I scoff more, if these be the walls which kept him out from the mickle guard there on the shore. Then out there came the great Kaiser with twice 10,000 men, but never a Thuring was coward enough to wish himself home again. Bow down, thou rebel, old Athanarich, and beg thy life this day. The Kaiser is lord of all the world, and who dare say him nay? I never came out of Caw land to beg for less nor more, but to see the pride of the great Kaiser in his mickle guard here by the shore. I never came out of Caw land to bow to mortal wight, but to shake the hand of the great Kaiser, and God defend my right. He shook his hand, that cunning Kaiser, and he kissed him courteously, and he is ridden with Athanarich, that wonder town to see. He showed him his walls of marble white, a mile o'erhead they shone. Quoth the balt, who would leap into that garden King Siegfried's boots must own. He showed him his engines of asymmetric, and his wells of quenchless flame, and his flying rocks that guarded his walls from all that against him came. He showed him his temples and pillared halls, and his streets of houses high, and his watchtowers tall, where his stargazers sit reading the signs of the sky. He showed him his ships with their 100 oars, and their sides like a castle wall, that fetch home the plunder of all the world at the Kaiser's beck and call. He showed him all nations of every tongue that are bred beneath the sun, how they flowed together in Micklegard street, as the brooks flow all into one. He showed him the shops of the china ware, and of silk and sendal also, and he showed him the baths and the water pipes on arches aloft that go. He showed him ostrich and unicorn, ape, lion, and tiger keen, and elephants wise roared, Hail Kaiser, as though they had Christians been. He showed him the hordes of the dragons and trolls, rare jewels and heaps of gold. Hast thou seen in all thy 100 years such as these, thou king so old? Now that cunning Kaiser was a scholar wise, and could of grammar read, and he cast a spell on that old balt, till lowly and meek spake he. Oh, oft have I heard of the Micklegard, what I held for chapmen's lies, but now do I know of the Micklegard by the sight of mine own eyes. Woden in Valhalla, but thou on earth art God, and he that dare withstand thee, Kaiser, on his own head lies his blood. Then out and spake that little bald tongue, rode at the king's right knee, quoth Fridigern slew false Kaiser Valens, and he died like you or me. And who art thou? Thou pretty bold boy rides at the king's right knee. Oh, I am the bald-tongued boy Alaric, and as good a man as thee. As good as me, thou pretty bold boy, with down upon thy chin. Oh, a spae-wife laid a doom on me, the best of thy realm to win. If thou be so fierce, thou little wolf cub, or ever thy teeth be grown, then I must guard my 2 young sons, lest they should lose their own. Oh, it's I will guard your 2 lither lads in their burg beside the sea, and it's I will prove true man to them, if they will prove true to me. But it's you must warn your 2 lither lads, and warn them bitterly, that if I shall find them 2 false Kaisers, high hanged they both shall be. Now they are gone into the Kaiser's palace to eat the peacock fine, and they are gone into the Kaiser's palace to drink the good Greek wine. The Kaiser alone and the old Balt, they sat at the cedar board, and round them served on the bended knee full many a Roman lord. What ails thee, friend Athanarich? What makes thee look so pale? I fear I am poisoned, thou cunning Kaiser, for I feel my heartstrings fail. Oh, would I had kept that great oath I swore by the horse's head, I would never set foot on Roman ground till the day that I lay dead. Oh, would I were home in Cawcaw land to hear my harpers play, and to drink my last of the nut-brown ale, while I gave the gold rings away. Oh, would I were home in Cawcaw land to hear the Gothman's horn, and watch the wagons and brown brood mares, and the tents where I was born. But now I must die between 4 stone walls, in Byzant beside the sea, and as thou shalt deal with my little bald tongue, so God shall deal with thee. The Kaiser he purged himself with oaths, and he buried him royally, and he set on his barrow an idol of gold, where all Romans must bow the knee. And now the Goths are the Kaiser's men, and guard him with lance and sword, and the little bald tongue is his sworn son-at-arms, and eats at the Kaiser's board. And the Kaiser's 2 sons are 2 false white lads, that a clerk may beat with cane. The clerk that should beat that little bald tongue would never sing mass again. Oh, the gates of Rome, they are steel without, and beaten gold within, but they shall fly wide to the little bald tongue, with the down upon his chin. Oh, the fairest flower in the Kaiser's garden is Roman Italian land, but it all shall fall to the little bald tongue, when he shall take lance in hand. And when he is parting the plunder of Rome, he shall pay for this song of mine, neither maiden nor land, neither jewel nor gold, but 1 cup of Italian wine. Eversley, 1864. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
On the death of Leopold, King of the Belgians. Footnote: impromptu lines written in the album of the Crown Princess of Germany. End of footnote. By Charles Kingsley. Read for LibriVox.org by Greg Giordano. Newport Richey, Florida. A king is dead, another mastermind is summoned from the worldwide council hall. Ah, for some seer to say what links behind, to read the mystic writing on the wall. Be still, fond man, nor ask thy fate to know. Face bravely what each God-sent moment brings. Above thee rules in love, through weal and woe, guiding thy kings and thee, the King of Kings. Windsor Castle, November 10, 1865. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Easter Week by Charles Kingsley. Read for LibriVox.org by Larry Wilson. Written for music to be sung at a parish industrial exhibition. See the land, her Easter keeping, rises as her Maker rose. Seeds, so long in darkness sleeping, burst at last from winter snows. Earth with heaven above rejoices. Fields and gardens hail the spring. Shays and woodlands ring with voices, while the wild birds build and sing. You, to whom your Maker granted powers to those sweet birds unknown, use the craft by God implanted, use the reason not your own. Here, while heaven and earth rejoices, each his Easter tribute bring. Work of fingers, chant of voices, like the birds who build and sing. Eversley, 1867. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain. Drifting Away, a Fragment, by Charles Kingsley, read for LibriVox.org by Larry Wilson. They drift away. Ah, God, they drift forever. I watch the stream sweep onward to the sea. Like some old battered buoy upon a roaring river, round whom the tide waifs hang, then drift to sea. I watch them drift, the old familiar faces, who fished and rode with me by stream and wold, till ghosts, not men, fill old beloved places. And the land is rank with churchyard mold. I watch them drift, the youthful aspirations, shores, landmarks, beacons drift alike. I watch them drift, the poets and the statesmen. The very streams run upward from the sea. Yet overhead the boundless arch of heaven still fades to night, still blazes into day. Ah, God, my God, thou wilt not drift away. November 1867. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain. Christmas Day by Charles Kingsley, read for LibriVox.org by Larry Wilson. How will it dawn, the coming Christmas Day? A northern Christmas such as painters love, and kinsfolk shaking hands but once a year, and dames who tell old legends by the fire? Red sun, blue sky, white snow, and pearled ice, keen ringing air which sets the blood on fire, and makes the old man merry with the young, through the short sunshine, through the longer night? Or southern Christmas, dark and dank with mist, and heavy with the scent of steaming leaves, and rosebuds mouldering on the dripping porch? One twilight without rise or set of sun, till beetles drone along the hollow lane, and round the leafless hawthorns flitting bats hawk the pale moths of winter. Welcome then, at best, the flying gleam, the flying shower, the rain pools glittering on the long white roads, and shadows sweeping on from down to down before the salt Atlantic gale. Yet come in whatsoever garb, or gay or sad, come fair, come foul, 'twill still be Christmas Day. How will it dawn, the coming Christmas Day? To sailors lounging on the lonely deck beneath the rushing trade wind, or to him who by some noisome harbor of the east watches swart arms roll down the precious bales, spoils of the tropic force, year by year amid the din of heathen voices, groaning himself half heathen? How to those brave hearts who toil with laden loins and sinking stride beside the bitter wells of treeless sands toward the peaks which flood the ancient Nile, to free a tyrant's captives? How to those new patriarchs of the new-found underworld, who stand like Jacob on the virgin lawns and count their flocks' increase? To them that day shall dawn in glory and solstitial blaze of full midsummer sun. To them that morn gay flowers beneath their feet, gay birds aloft, shall tell of naught but summer. But to them ere yet, unwarned by carol or by chime, they spring into the saddle. Thrills may come from that great heart of Christendom which beats round all the worlds, and gracious thoughts of youth, of steadfast folk who worship God at home, or wise words learnt beside their mother's knee, of innocent faces upturned once again in awe and joy to listen to the tale of God made man and in a manger laid, may soften, purify, and raise the soul from selfish cares and growing lust of gain, and phantoms of this dream which some call life, toward the eternal facts. For here or there, summer or winter, 'twill be Christmas Day. Blessed day which reminds us year by year what 'tis to be a man, to curb and spurn the tyrant in us, that ignobler self which boasts, not loathes its likeness to the brute, and owns no good save ease, no ill save pain, no purpose save its share in that wild war in which through countless ages living things compete in internecine greed. Ah, God, are we as creeping things which have no Lord? That we are brutes, great God, we know too well. Apes daintier featured, silly birds who flaunt their plumes unheeding of the fowler's step, spiders who catch with paper, not with webs, tigers who slay with cannon and sharp steel instead of teeth and claws. All these we are. Are we no more than these, save in degree? No more than these, and born but to compete, to envy and devour, like beast or herb? Mere fools of nature, puppets of strong lust, taking the sword to perish with the sword upon the universal battlefield, even as the things upon the moor outside. The heath eats up green grass and delicate flowers. The pine eats up the heath, the grub the pine, the finch the grub, the hawk the silly finch, and man, the mightiest of all beasts of prey, eats what he lists. The strong eat up the weak, the many eat the few, great nations small. And he who cometh in the name of all, he greediest, triumphs by the greed of all, and armed with his own victims eats up all. While ever out of the eternal heavens looks patient down the great magnanimous God, who, maker of all worlds, did sacrifice all to himself. Nay, but himself to one, who taught mankind on that first Christmas day what 'twas to be a man, to give, not take, to serve, not rule, to nourish, not devour, to help, not crush, if need, to die, not live. O blessed day, which givest the eternal lie to self and sense and all the brute within. O come to us amid this war of life, to hall and hovel, come to all who toil in senate, shop, or study, and to those who, sundered by the wastes of half a world, ill-warned and sorely tempted, ever face nature's brute powers, and men unmanned to brutes. Come to them, blessed and blessing Christmas Day. Tell them once more the tale of Bethlehem, the kneeling shepherds, and the babe divine, and keep them men indeed. Fair Christmas Day. Eversley, 1868. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
September 21st, 1870, by Charles Kingsley, read for LibriVox.org by Micah Glass. Speak low, speak little, who may sing, while yonder cannon thunders boom? Watch shuddering what each day may bring, nor pipe amid the crack of doom. And yet the pines sing overhead, the robins by the alder pool, the bees about the garden bed, the children dancing home from school. And ever at the loom of birth the mighty mother weaves and sings. She weaves fresh robes for mangled earth, she sings fresh hopes for desperate things. And thou, too, if through nature's calm some strain of music touch thine ears, accept and share that soothing balm, and sing though choked with pitying tears. Eversley, 1870. End poem. This recording is in the public domain.
The Mango Tree by Charles Kingsley. Read for LibriVox.org by Lilian Elizabeth. He wiled me through the furzy croft. He wiled me down the sandy lane. He told his boy's love, soft and oft, until I told him mine again. We married and we sailed the main, a soldier and a soldier's wife. We marched through many a burning plain. We sighed for many a gallant life. But his, God kept it safe from harm. He toiled and dared and earned command, and those 3 stripes upon his arm were more to me than gold or land. Sure he would win some great renown. Our lives were strong, our hearts were high. One night the fever struck him down. I sat and stared and saw him die. I had his children 1, 2, 3. 1 week I had them blithe and sound. The next beneath this mango tree, by him in barrack burying ground. I sit beneath the mango shade. I live my 5 years' life all o'er. Round yonder stems his children played. He mounted guard at yonder door. 'Tis I, not they, am gone and dead. They live, they know, they feel, they see. Their spirits like the golden shade beneath the giant mango tree. All things save I are full of life, the minnows pluming velvet breasts, the monkeys in their foolish strife, the swooping hawks, the swinging nests, the lizards basking on the soil, the butterflies who sun their wings, the bees about their household toil. They live, they love the blissful things. Each tender purple mango shoot that folds and droops so bashful down, it lives, it sucks some hidden root. It rears at last a broad green crown. It blossoms and the children cry, watch when the mango apples fall. It lives, but rootless, fruitless I breathe and dream, and that is all. Thus I am dead, yet cannot die, but still within my foolish brain there hangs a pale blue evening sky, a furzy croft, a sandy lane. 1870. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
The Priest's Heart by Charles Kingsley. Read for LibriVox.org by Giordano. Newport Richey, Florida. It was Sir John, the fair young priest. He strode up off the strand, but 7 fisher maidens he left behind, all dancing hand in hand. He came unto the wise wife's house. Now, mother, to prove your art, to charm May Carleton's merry blue eyes out of a young man's heart. My son, you went for a holy man, whose heart was set on high. Go sing in your psalter, and read in your books. Man's love fleets lightly by. I had liever to talk with May Carleton than with all the saints in heaven. I had liever to sit by May Carleton than climb the spheres 7. I have watched and fasted early and late. I have prayed to all above, but I find no cure save churchyard mould for the pain which men call love. Now heaven forfend that ill grow worse. Enough that ill be ill. I know of a spell to draw May Carleton and bend her to your will. If thou didst that which thou canst not do, wise woman though thou be, I would run and run till I buried myself in the surge of yonder sea. Scatheless for me are maid and wife, and scatheless shall they bide. Yet charm me May Carleton's eyes from the heart that aches in my left side. She charmed him with the white witchcraft, she charmed him with the black, but he turned his fair young face to the wall till she heard his heart-strings crack. 1870. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Qu'est Qu'il Dit by Charles Kingsley, read for LibriVox.org. Espion aillé de la jeune amante, de l'ombre des pommiers, pourquoi se crie? Laïs empaillit le beau garçon plaidé et vaincré. Pourquoi demandait Qu'est qu'il dit? Qu'est qu'il dit, ce que tu dis toi-même chaque mois de ce printemps éternel, ce que disent les papillons qui s'entrebaissent, ce que dis tu, belle jeune, être à toute belle. Important, attends quelque lustre quand les souvenirs les mèneront ici. Mère, grand-mère, par là, cette fidèle de ma main doucement, et le veillard, qu'est qu'il dit? Trinidad, January 10, 1870, end of poem. This recording is in the public domain. The Legend of La Brea by Charles Kingsley, read for LibriVox.org. Down beside the loathly pitch lake in the stately Morashall sat an ancient Spanish Indian peering through the columns tall, watching vainly for the flashing of the jeweled colibris, listening vainly for their humming round the honey-blossomed trees. Few, he sighed, they come, and fewer to the cocorite bowers, murdered madly through the forests, which of yore were theirs and ours. By there came a negro hunter, lithe and lusty, sleek and strong, rolling round his sparkling eyeballs as he loped and lounged along. Rusty firelock on his shoulder, rusty cutlass on his thigh, never jollier British subject rollicked underneath the sky. British law to give him safety, British fleets to guard his shore, and a square of British freehold, he had all we have and more. Fattening through the endless summer like his own provision ground, he had reached the summum bonum which our latest wits have found. So he thought, and in his hammock gnawed his junk of sugar cane, toasted plantains at the fire-stick, gnawed and dozed and gnawed again. Had a wife in his ajupa, or at least what did instead, children too who died so early he'd no need to earn their bread. Never stole, save what he needed, from the crown woods round about, never lied except when summoned, let the warden find him out. Never drank except at market, never beat his sturdy mate, she could hit as hard as he could, and had just as hard a pate. Had no care for priest nor parson, hope of heaven nor fear of hell, and in all his views of nature held with Comte and Peter Bell. Healthy, happy, silly, kindly, neither care nor toil had he, save to work an hour at sunrise, and then hunt the colibri. Not a bad man, not a good man, scarce a man at all, one fears, if the man be that within us which is born of fire and tears. Round the palm stems, round the creepers, flashed a feathered jewel past, ruby-crested, topaz-throated, cocorite-bast. Plucked the fallen Kaiba cotton, whirred away to build his nest, hung at last with happy humming round some flower he fancied best. Up then went the rusty muzzle, dat the 10th I shot today, but out sprang the Indian shouting, balked the negro of his prey. Eh, you Signor Trinidada, what dis new ondecent plan? Spoil a gen'man's chance of shooting, I's as good as any man. Dese not your woods, dese de Queen's woods, you seem not know where you are. Gibbin yourself dese buckra airs here, you black Indian papist, dar. Stately, courteous, stood the Indian, pointed through the palm tree shade. Does the gentleman of color know how yon pitch lake was made? Grinned the negro, grinned and trembled, through his nerves a shudder ran, saw a snake-like eye that held him, saw he'd met an O.B. man. Saw a fetish, such a bottle, buried at his cottage door, toad and spider, dirty water, rusty nails, and 9 charms more. Saw in vision such a cock's head in the path, and it was white. Saw Brinvilliers in his pottage, faltered, cold and damp with fright. Fearful is the chance of poison, fearful to the great unknown. Magic brings some positivists humbly on their marrow bone. Like the wedding guest enchanted, there he stood, a trembling cur, while the Indian told his story like the ancient mariner. Told how once that loathly pitch lake was a garden bright and fair, how the Chaymas off the mainland built their palm ajupas there. How they throve, and how they fattened, hale and happy, safe and strong, passed the livelong days in feasting, passed the nights in dance and song, till they cruel grew and wanton, till they killed the colibris. Then outspake the great good spirit, who can see through all the trees, said, "And what have I not sent you, wanton Chaymas, many a year? Lap, agouti, kakakami, Quenk and Quatsapita deer. Fish I sent you turtle, chip chip conch, flamenco red, woodland powie, horned screamer, and blue ramier overhead. Plums from Balata and Mombin, Tanya maniac, water vine, let you fell my slim Monaquas, tap my sweet Morique wine. Sent rich plantains, food of angels, rich ananas, food of kings, grudged you none of all my treasures, save these lovely useless things. But the Chaymas' ears were deafened, blind their eyes, and could not see how a blissful Indian spirit lived in every colibri. Lived, forgetting toil and sorrow, ever fair and ever new, whirring round the dear old woodland, feeding on the honey-dew. Till one evening roared the earthquake, monkeys howled and parrots screamed, and the Guarans at morning gathered here as men who dreamed. Sunk were gardens, sunk ajupas, hut and hammock, man and hound, and above the Chayma village boiled with pitch the cursed ground. Full and too full, safe and too safe, Negro man, take care, take care. He that wantons with God's bounties of God's wrath had best beware. For the saucy, reckless, heartless, evil days are sure in store. You may see the Negro sinking as the Chayman sank of yore. Loudly laughed that stalwart hunter, what superstitious talk! Nyam am many, birds am birds like park am park, and there's 20,000 bird skins arder just now from New York. Eversley, 1870. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Hymn by Charles Kingsley. Read for LibriVox.org by Kangaroo. Accept this building, gracious Lord, no temple though it be. We raised it for our suffering kin, and so, good Lord, for Thee. Accept our little gift and give to all who here may dwell the will and power to do their work or bear their sorrows well. From Thee all skill and science flow, all pity, care, and love, all calm and courage, faith and hope, oh, pour them from above. Impart them, Lord, to each and all, as each and all shall need, to rise like incense each to Thee, in noble thought and deed. And hasten, Lord, that perfect day when pain and death shall cease, and Thy just rule shall fill the earth with health and light and peace. When ever blue the sky shall gleam, and ever green the sod, in man's rude work deface no more the paradise of God. Eversley, 1870. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
The Delectable Day by Charles Kingsley. Read for LibriVox.org by Giordano. Newport Richey, Florida. The boy on the famous gray pony, just bidding goodbye at the door, plucking up maiden heart for the fences, where his brother won honor of yore. The walk to the meet with fair children, and women as gentle as gay. Ah, how do we male hogs in armor deserve such companions as they? The afternoon's wander to windward, to meet the dear boy coming back, and to catch, down the turns of the valley, the last weary chime of the pack. The climb homeward by park and by moorland, and through the fir forests again, while the southwest wind roars in the gloaming like an ocean of seething champagne. And at night the septet of Beethoven, and the grandmother by in her chair, and the foot of all feet on the sofa, beating delicate time to the air. Ah, God, a poor soul can but thank thee for such a delectable day, though the fury, the fool, and the swindler tomorrow again have their way. Eversley, 6th November, 1862. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Juventus Mundi by Charles Kingsley, read for LibriVox.org. List a tale a fairy sent us, fresh from dear Mundi Juventus, when love in all the world was young, and birds conversed as well as sung, and men still face this fair creation with humour, heart, imagination, who come hither from Morocco every spring on the Sirocco, in russet she, and he in yellow, singing ever clear and mellow. Sweet, 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 sweet you, did he beat you, did he beat you? Philopneustes wise folk call them, but don't know what did befall them. Why they ever thought of coming all that way to hear gnats humming, why they built not nests but houses like the bumblebees and mousies, nor how little birds got wings, nor what 'tis the small cock sings. How should they know, stupid fogies? They daren't even believe in bogies. Once they were a girl and boy, each the other's life and joy. He a Daphnis, she a Chloe, only they were brown, not snowy, till an Arab found them playing, far beyond the Atlas straying, tied the helpless things together, drove them in the burning weather, in his slave gang many a league, till they dropped from wild fatigue. Up he caught his whip of hide, lashed each soft brown back and side, till their little brains were burst with sharp pain and heat and thirst. Over her the poor boy lay, tried to keep the blows away, till they stiffened into clay, and the ruffian rode away. Swooping o'er the tainted ground, carrion vultures gathered round, and the gaunt hyenas ran, tracking up the caravan. But, ah, wonder, that was gone which they meant to feast upon, and for each a yellow wren, one a cock and one a hen, sweetly warbling, flitted forth o'er the desert toward the north. But a shade of bygone sorrow, like a dream upon the morrow, round his tiny brainlet clinging, sets the wee cock ever singing, sweet, 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 sweet you, did he beat you, did he beat you? Vultures croaked and hopped and flopped, but their evening meal was stopped, and the gaunt hyenas foul sat down on their tails to howl. Northward towards the cool spring weather, those two wrens fled on together, on to England o'er the sea, where all folks alike are free. There they built a cabin, wattled like the huts where first they prattled, hatched and fed as safe as may be, many a tiny feathered baby. But in autumn south they go, past the straits and Atlas snow, over desert, over mountain, to the palms beside the fountain, where, when once they lived before, he told her first the old story. What do the doves say? Coo-ra-coo, you love me, and I love you. 1872. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Valentine's Day by Charles Kingsley. Read for LibriVox.org by Greg Giordano. Newport Richey, Florida. Oh, I wish I were a tiny brownie bird from out the south, settled among the altar holts and twittering by the stream. I would put my tiny tail down and put up my tiny mouth and sing my tiny life away in one melodious dream. I would sing about the blossoms and the sunshine and the sky, and the tiny wife I mean to have in such a cozy nest. And if someone came and shot me dead, why then I could but die, with my tiny life and tiny song just ended at their best. Eversley, 1873. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Ballad, Lorraine, Lorraine, Loree, by Charles Kingsley, read for LibriVox.org by Dan Cobb. Are you ready for your steeplechase, Lorraine, Lorraine, Loree? You're booked to ride your capping race today at Coulterlee. You're booked to ride Vindictive for all the world to see, to keep him straight, to keep him first, and win the run from me. She clasped her newborn baby, poor Lorraine, Lorraine, Loree. I cannot ride Vindictive, as any man might see, and I will not ride Vindictive with this baby on my knee. He's killed a boy, he's killed a man, and why must he kill me? Unless you ride Vindictive, Lorraine, Lorraine, Loree, unless you ride Vindictive today at Coulterlee, and land him safe across the brook, and win the blank from me, it's you may keep your baby, for you'll get no keep from me. That husbands could be cruel, said Lorraine, Lorraine, Loree. That husbands could be cruel I have known for seasons 3. But oh, to ride Vindictive while a baby cries for me, and be killed across a fence at last for all the world to see. She mastered young Vindictive. Oh, the gallant lass was she, and kept him straight, and won the race as near could be. But he killed her at the brook, against a pollard willow tree. Oh, he killed her at the brook, the brute, for all the world to see, and no one but the baby cried for poor Lorraine, Loree. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Martin Lightfoot's Song by Charles Kingsley. Read for LibriVox.org by Greg Giordano. Newport Richey, Florida. Martin Lightfoot's Song. Footnote. Supposed to be sung at Crowland Minster to Leofric, the Wakes Mass priest, when news was received of Hereward's second marriage to Alftruda. End of footnote. Come hearken, hearken, gentles all, come hearken unto me, and I'll sing you a song of a wood lion came swimming out over the sea. He ranged west, he ranged east, and far and wide ranged he. He took his bite out of every breast, lives under the greenwood tree. Then by there came a silly old wolf, and I'll serve you, quoth he. Quoth the lion, my paw is heavy enough, so what wilt thou do for me? Then by there came a cunning old fox, and I'll serve you, quoth he. Quoth the lion, my wits are sharp enough, so what wilt thou do for me? Then by there came a white, white dove, flew off Our Lady's knee, sang, It's I will be your true, true love, if you'll be true to me. And what will you do, you bonny white dove, and what will you do for me? Oh, it's I'll bring you to Our Lady's love, in the ways of chivalry. He followed the dove, that wood lion, by mere and wood and wold, till he is come to a perfect knight, like the paladin of old. He ranged east, he ranged west, and far and wide ranged he, and ever the dove won him honour and fame in the ways of chivalry. Then by there came a foul old sow, come rookling under the tree, and it's I will be true love to you, if you'll be true to me. And what will thou do, thou foul old sow, and what will thou do for me? Oh, there hangs in my snout a jewel of gold, and that will I give to thee. He took to the sow, that wood lion, to the rookling sow took he, and the dove flew up to Our Lady's bosom, and never again throve he. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain. End of Andromeda and Other Poems by Charles Kingsley.